What if you could permanently get a notably bigger pee-pee? So it's length plus thickness, but completely natural. You're not wasting time getting these surgeries done where they're cutting your ligaments open, or wasting hours a day doing these dumb like stretching techniques you see on Reddit that have zero scientific evidence so they actually work or don't work. I'm gonna teach you exactly how I was able to transform my pee-pee, cut the fluff, that stuff that just wasted time and didn't make a difference, how you could seamlessly incorporate these secrets into your own life. You ready? So imagine this. I'm on the very tip of my toes leaning over to grab a glass on the top shelf of the cupboard. I barely just wrap my fingers around it sturdy enough to pull the glass down. And as I'm taking the glass down, I step backwards and turn at the same time. So now we just lock eyes, just deeply with each other. I go, this double leg takedown in wrestling, throw her over my shoulder, smack her ass. I take her back to my bedroom, we're making out, doing some foreplay, taking off each other's clothes. And now, imagine this, she's bent over in front of me. I look down, and it's the worst thing any guy can see in this position. My pee-pee was completely flaccid. Like, it wasn't even half, 50% erect. This thing was softer than a liberal's feelings, even though I had just taken 80 milligrams of Viagra. So to backtrack for a sec, give you a little bit of context of what's happening here. It was this super cold, just dark, gloomy day around winter break time back when I was a sophomore in college. It was a Saturday. And I remember just that weekend, all of my roommates and all of my housemates were gone for some reason. I think they wanted to spend time with their family and put up the Christmas lights. Like I'm proud. Like, my family never did it. Like, hey dad, you want to put up the Christmas lights this week? No, didn't happen. I didn't have a dad either. So it was just me. I just went to the gym that afternoon, spent like an hour in the library, ate some for the dining hall, and now it was about evening time. I was getting some work on my computer for like this dumb women's literature assignment, like, yeah, men are evil, patriarchy, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, I was kind of just half goofing off watching some of these like Ben Shapiro destroys liberal videos, because I went to a very liberal school in college, and believe me, these people were absolute morons. But as I'm working for a little bit, I then noticed the time in the corner of my laptop screen. It was about 7:15, and my heart just beat it up for a second. So I looked at my phone, and I had gotten a text message from a girl. There's a girl I met on a dating app, and I invited her over to come to my apartment for our second date. After the first date, she came back to my apartment, but we only took it to like second base, and I told her to come over. My roommates and housemates are gone, and she just texted me saying, hey, I'm gonna head over soon. I'm just getting ready to take the campus bus over. I read that text message, and I just liked it. I didn't respond back because, can't validate these women. That's what I was reading from these like red pill forums online. And then my heart really started to race for a second, because then I reached under my desk into a drawer, and the very back of the drawer, hidden under some stuff, so I wanted nobody to find this, there was a packet from a company called Roman, and inside was Viagra. Actually, it was like sildenafil, which is the active ingredient in Viagra, like what Viagra actually is. I was broke in college, couldn't afford like the brand name, like what Pfizer charges, like the premium version, I couldn't afford that hype. So basically the same exact thing, Viagra. I read the instructions, I ignored them, and I popped in 80 milligrams. So if you don't know, no doctor will ever prescribe 80 milligrams of Viagra to somebody. 50 milligrams, unless, even if you're 90 years old with droopy balls, is more than enough to get the job done and maintain a very hard erection. But I took 80 milligrams, drank some water to down it. I got back to my work. Okay, yeah, men are evil, women are oppressed, they've always been in history, but women are actually, superheroes, blah, 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 blah. Kept working. And then something happened. I could feel a semi-boner start to form as I sat down. Maybe I thought of something seductive. Maybe I saw I don't know, a thirst trap on YouTube in the corner of my screen, whatever. Something was different, because I could feel blood just flowing to my pee-pee like never before. So I kind of just rubbed it, with my thigh, and immediately I could tell it was about to get expand and get massive. So I just stood up, pulled my pants down, and what I saw just changed my life, because my pee-pee, flaccid, was massive. I knew, okay, Viagra gives you harder erections, and yeah, that's it. This thing was crazy. It was like someone photoshopping with a new toy. So then I just gave it a stroke or two, and immediately it grew. And this thing, it was at least an inch bigger in length, and notably girthier. This thing was insanely massive. So I'm just staring at my pee-pee and all, oh wow, it's so big. And then immediately my attention got pulled to something else. My phone started ringing, and I saw that girl was calling me now because some time had passed. And I also saw I had some missed text messages from her. So I picked, I wobble over with my ankles, my pants are on my ankles, pick up the phone, and she's told me she got lost, which I don't even understand how girls just get lost all the time. You've been to my place before. just put the address in Google Maps and show up anyway. So she told me she got lost. I'm like, all right, no worries, I'll come out and I'll find you. I pull my pants back up, I go grab my rain jacket, my umbrella, because right now it was like pounding hard. It was getting cold and wet outside. So I put my shoes on, I go outside looking for her, and she's like, of course, she's like 5 buildings away by like the international student building, which is like, why would I'm not an international, okay, anyway. Girls can't find directions, lesson learned. But though I go find her, run up to her, give her a hug. We're holding her really close. We have the umbrella on top of us. Wind is just pulling at it. And I take her to my apartment. So now we're like running up like 5 flights of stairs, get to the top floor, which is where my apartment is. There was no elevator, and the wind's just pounding at us, slamming at us, but she's like nice and warm, so I'm like pulling her in close and get a bit of warmth. The rain was the only thing that ended up pounding her that night. But I pull her into my apartment now, open the door with my key. We're taking like, our jackets off. I take her jacket off. We're taking our shoes off, and we're just laughing like how crazy it is, hailing now and raining. And then, I invite her to come to the living room, and now we're sitting basically across from each other on the couch. Like I'm rubbing her thigh. She's kind of like caressing my arm. And that's where she ended up asking me, hey, can I get a cup of water? I go to the kitchen with her, and one thing led to another where I ended up taking her to my bedroom, and my pee-pee didn't work. Now, I told you this story for 2 reasons. The first reason is I never actually struggled with having a small pee-pee or having that as an insecurity of mine. I struggled with a different issue, which was performance anxiety. I would get so nervous in the bedroom, especially when it came to penetration, that my pee-pee would just get softer than a liberal's feelings. But secondly, in the process of fixing that issue of performance anxiety, I ended up uncovering so many secrets to get a notably bigger pee-pee permanently and naturally that nobody was saying online. Garbage advice you see on like Reddit, like jelqing and like stretching your pee-pee, like all that stuff doesn't work. I'm gonna teach you how to actually transform your own pee-pee. So I guess some good did come from me and now from you, from those many humiliating failures I had when my pee-pee didn't work with 25 plus girls, maybe 30 or something like that. But unfortunately, just so many guys think they're just stuck with the pee-pee they have. Oh, I can only get surgery and this extreme stuff, so I'll be stuck with a smaller and average pee-pee. That's all BS. Now, the thing is, it all started that day, my like pee-pee transformation journey. Because remember I mentioned in that story I told you that when I took Viagra, my pee-pee got massive, like probably an inch or a little over that longer and way more girthier. Your body naturally has the ability to make that happen. Like basically, Viagra, the way it works is it gets your body to produce more nitric oxide, which is made in the brain. And nitric oxide, think of it like a chemical messenger. So it's sending a message through your body that says, hey, let's relax. So this message, hey, let's relax, is now flowing through your blood, and it gets read by your smooth muscle cells in your pee-pee. So there's a bunch of these blood vessels in your pee-pee, like everywhere else in your body. And these smooth muscle cells line the outside of your blood. And when they get this message, hey, let's relax, the blood vessels widen, which allows exponentially more blood flow to flow in to your pee-pee and fill up the spongy tissue in your pee to make it massive. Now, of course, Viagra is temporary. There's no pill, there's no herb, there's no supplement, there's no cream that will permanently give you a notably bigger pee-pee. But again, your body right now has the ability to make your pee-pee massive just by doing this, of maximizing blood flow to your pee-pee. And that is the big domino. Yes, there's a full guy. I'll talk about some more stuff as well. But if you want a notably bigger pee-pee, this is how we do it. We're gonna, 1, level up the skill of maximizing blood flow to your pee-pee, and 2, train your body over time to increase that max. And by the way, like I ain't Alpha M. I have like nothing to sell you in this video. There's no, hey guys, 30% off, hit that first link in the description below and just, rub Tiege Hanley on your pee-pee to make it bigger. Like, none of that. To make this make sense, let's say for example, these are some random numbers. Your body is able to send 1 liter of blood to your pee-pee to max it out, but it only sends 72%. But to you, you think the 100% hard, full erection, that's the max it goes to, even though it could be sending more. We want to train your body with time to start sending then 75%, 78%, 85%, 95%, 100%, and as well over time, increase that maximum to 1.1 liter, 1.2, 1.3, etc. You might have just thought this is some garbage advice. There's no way maximizing blood flow to your pee-pee will make it that much bigger. The skin can only expand so much, and it'll be hurt if you just pump more blood to it or something. Let's think about this for a second. Imagine you're at Walmart and you're walking through the donut aisle or any aisle, and you see these 300+ pound land whales, also also known as these body positivity heroes. Their skin expanded significantly to make room for that extra fat. The same way, over time, your skin can expand to make room for that extra blood. Now, you might also be thinking, okay, this can work for some people, but me, I'm a fairly fit guy, I go to the gym, I eat decently healthy, I sleep enough, I probably already maximize blood flow to your PP. Let me tell you a quick story. Back when I was in high school, I was doing an assignment for a class on English, and I wrote an essay that I thought was the greatest essay ever written. Everything was perfect. I lined it up to an A+ on this essay. I'm gonna then just get barely an A- in the class, which in high school is just an A. I'm gonna get a high GPA, get into this prestigious college, and guess what happened? This essay that was such a big deal to me that I thought was perfect, I got a C- on, almost a D. And when I got the essay back, I realized actually, once it was pointed out to me, this essay is pretty garbage. This was wrong, that was wrong. There was a million spelling mistakes in it, even though I thought this essay was. You probably also think back so many times in your life when you thought something you turned or something you did was amazing or incredible until you see other people do it, until you get a grade for it and you realize it actually wasn't that good. The same way, chances are, if you've never thought or put much computation into how to maximize the size of my PP, and especially to maximize like blood flow to my PP, there's a bunch of things you likely have missed that we'll talk about in this video. Or lastly, you might be thinking that to maximize blood flow to my PP, I need to eat some super niche specific diet or do hours of cardio exercise per day. But that's not true either. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to teach you the secrets you can seamlessly incorporate into your own life. So there's multiple of them. There's not one specific thing. Yes, some will increase blood flow to your PP more than others, but this thing might increase it by 4%, this by 8%, this by 20, this by 7. By stacking these together throughout your day, then it starts to really get massive. So maybe half of these you can easily do starting tomorrow, but over time, you have to incorporate some more of these as your schedule gets more relaxed, or you're able to have more freedom. But the more you do, the bigger your PP will get. And we're gonna attack this question from every single angle possible. How do we maximize blood flow to our PP? We don't want average 9-to-5 job, middle class, 1100 SAT, 27 BMI, just garbage, mediocre, liberal blood flow. We want 10 out of 10, A+, financial freedom, independence level blood flow that so few people have. The same way, since you likely go to the gym, you work out and lift weights, you know how few people actually have even a decently attractive physique. But if you put the work in, you'll have the insane results that almost nobody else can relate to. And as I started adding in more and more of these things to my own life to fix my performance ED problems, I noticed that my PP started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it was undeniably just not the same thing I had just a few years ago. Like, I really wish I'd taken like before and after like transformation pictures like in this journey. I don't have any. I know you're all excited. They're like, oh, I'm gonna see all Lee's PP in this video. Like, relax, I have nothing to show you here. There's no link in the description. And when I told some of my friends about this and they told me about their first sign of success and also some more successes they had and how their PP kept growing, then I knew I was onto something and wanted to make this video to show that to you. I have no transformation pics from them either and asked them to show me their PP. I didn't measure anything. But by now, you're on board. You believe in what I'm saying. You want to maximize blood flow to your PP. So let's get on to it with the prelude. So first off, the average PP length in America is a little over 5 inches. It's about 5.15 inches. And worldwide, it sits at 5.5. Now, that's just an average. What is the standard deviation? Like, what is the normal range? How spread out is normal? And the King's College Trust was looking at a bunch of reliable assessments on PP length worldwide to put together a meta-analysis, and actual males, not this like LGBTQ fake plant-based male identifying garbage. And they showed that 65% of adult males had a PP between the length of 4.5 and 5.8 inches. And 95% of adult males had a PP between the length of 3.9 to 6.5 inches. And therefore, anything less than 3.9 inches is considered a micro penis. Now, what this means, if you follow the steps to maximize blood flow to your PP, you likely, if you're not already, will move more in towards the normal range, or if you're in the normal range, you'll be proceeded more to be the outlier range for the positive side. But also, very importantly, realize that a big PP to guys and a big PP to girls are actually two different things. And I don't think most guys are aware of this. When guys talk about having a big PP, we're always referring to length. But for girls, they're always referring to girth, the width, the circumference of your PP. Which, if you think about it, it does make sense, because like the girthier your PP is, the more of her tunnel surface area comes into contact with, and her tunnel entrance glands will get more stimulation. In all the studies done, women prioritized girth over length. So past a certain bare minimum, women actually care more about girth than length, and they especially care more about girth, studies have found, when it comes to short-term partners. The good news though is that by maximizing blood flow, you will increase length and girth. So it's a win-win for both. So on to the big domino. How do we increase blood flow to our PP? Section 1, get snug as a bug, aka get very comfortable with this girl. Part A, you cannot feel pressure to perform on dates or in the bedroom or see your body negatively because stressors overpower nitric oxide. To tell you a bit of a story, back when I was in college, first getting to dating for the first time ever, I sucked at it. Like, I was terrible, the worst. I over-texted, I over-pursued. I would invite a girl back to my place to watch Netflix, actually like watch Netflix for an hour and a half and not make a move, and then she left. And then I did the opposite. I was like way too forward. I didn't know how to like make out, so I was like shoving my tongue down the girl's like mouth. Every mistake you can think of, I made. Now, the good news was, after a bit of time and sifting through all that like blue-pilled WikiHow garbage online, I found very early red pill dating content. Before the red pill was actually a thing, incorporated that advice, and started to see like real results on dates and having real dating success for the first time ever, which was awesome. Except very quickly, something started to change. When I was consuming so much of this red pill content now on forums and some very early like videos on YouTube too, and also watching some of these like pickup guys like the Daily Dropout or Jack Demo, where these guys would like go to college campuses and say random stuff to girls, get their phone numbers, I started to feel this immense pressure to need to always be spinning plates and have so many girls on my phone and be hooking up nonstop because, you know, I'm in college right now and I'm a guy. It's like peak time and I need to be, you know, doing all this stuff. And because of that, I would feel so pressured to perform on dates. Like, my mind would be racing. Like, okay, I just touched her knee. Okay, good. I broke the touch barrier. Okay, now in 8 minutes, I should casually mention going back to my place and, oh my God, I validated the girl. God, I can't validate her. Okay, what did that red pill YouTuber tell me to do? And this made me so anxious and stressed. I didn't actually enjoy the dates anymore. And then when I brought the girl back to my place, I would always feel like I need to blow her mind in the bed, just she'll keep liking me and coming back to me and I have another plate that I can spin. And yeah, now I have 4 plates now. This, I think, contributed very heavily to my performance ED when I was so out of my head and not even enjoying the girl's presence or intimacy or just having that dating experience. But what I later realized is when you are overthinking, anxious, agitated, etc., your body is under stress. And this causes your PP to actually get smaller. In extreme cases, like I had with my performance ED, just not work at all. And this is because your PP is under autonomic control. So when you're stressed out, your body will release stress hormones like adrenaline, also called epinephrine, cortisol, and these stress hormones overpower that nitric oxide response telling your blood vessels to relax, and instead gets them to close up in your PP so your blood can go to other areas in your body that matter, because your body thinks it's getting into a fight or flight response when it's stressed out. So we don't need blood in our PP. When you're in a fight or flight response from these stress hormones, it also gets your muscles to tense up. And when the muscles in your pelvic region tense up, less blood can get into that area. This is why when people get angry, let's say for example, you misgender somebody, aka you call them the actual gender they are, the one they were assigned at birth, like the only gender they have, and they get all mad, their face starts to get red, their hands clench, because blood is flowing to different places and their muscles are tightening up. So just by being kind of stressed out from overthinking or overanalyzing, you being 10%, 20% stressed, it's making your PP smaller by 10%, by 20%, etc. So when I realized this, I went into dates now with the mindset of I'm just gonna relax and have a good time. Of course, I'm gonna, lead as the guy and do the things that would end up with the date going well, but I didn't want to feel any pressure on me. You know what, if this date goes well, maybe she comes back to my place, fantastic. If not, I got some fresh air, got some good food, and I leveled up my XP in dating, so it'll likely my date with the next girl will go even better. And when I went into dates with this mindset, one, the dates just went by so much better. I enjoyed them much more, but amazingly, more girls seemed to like me and more of them ended up coming back to my place, which I didn't really understand at first. Maybe most guys are overthinking as well and they're anxious, so when you're actually present and in the moment, you're just more fun and enjoyable to be around. Maybe they think, oh, he's relaxed, so you have his experience with other girls and they're into that. I don't know exactly why the case is, but being present and relaxed in the moment made more girls like me and maybe enjoy dating in a drastically decreased my problems with performance ED in the bedroom. Now, the fact that I told you this story, you will now be more aware and remember to relax and be present around girls. This will help you out, it can help me out, but me being like a drastic overthinker, it didn't completely fix the job for me. So after I sifted on the internet to kind of try to find more ways to relax on dates and in the bedroom, I saw a bunch of garbage advice. Like, oh, remember, you're the king, bro. Like, she's lucky to have you. This is socialist level stupidity. The two things that really helped me to relax on dates, and especially in the bedroom to give me like a bigger pee-pee, was one, just getting on self-transformation stat. When I stayed focused on building muscle, training MMA, building my own business, becoming like an all-rounded, just well-made, exceptional guy. Because when you build up these underlying values and characteristics that so few guys have, you become exceptional from average guys in so many ways. It becomes so much easier to attract girls. So as I was going about these things and I was getting more jacked than the average guy, I was more confident, more competent, I was doing way better in school, I had a business going on the side that was incredible. I found it way easier to attract girls, get on dates with them. And then of course I do have to actually go and like talk to the girls and, you know, do all that stuff. Simply knowing that I had so many girls on my phone and I could attract so many girls because of who I was, it took the pressure off on dates. Because let's say this date with a girl went bad. Let's say I'm with this girl right now and it turned out pretty bad in the bedroom, my PP wasn't working. I can just hit up or message a different girl, multiple other girls that like me, and that just took a bunch of the pressure off. Because obviously it's so much easier to relax from a girl when you don't feel like she's your winning lottery ticket. Like you finally, you got the one and you has to go well with this one. And number two, this will sound very counterintuitive. I'm telling you right now, it is the greatest piece of bedroom advice I have ever gotten. And that's simply not caring about the girl's pleasure, actually being quite selfish in the bedroom with what you want. So basically in the past, I would like look up how to be good in the bedroom and like how to please a girl. There's like, you know, Reddit forums on this, people pose this question all the time. There's also like adult content videos on like how to please the girl. And there's also like YouTube videos people have made on this subject. And I figured, okay, if I look up this stuff the same way I looked up how to get, you know, bigger in the gym for people who are more bigger than me, this advice will help me. And if you're like me, you're like a forward-thinking analytical guy, maybe you've also looked this up as well. But every time I would implement all of like that advice that I saw, that, you know, go down on her 8 times and don't even touch with your PP unless she's climaxed 50 times already. And it's only about her pleasure, like pleasure her first, then maybe pleasure yourself at the end or something like that. All of that advice, every time I would do it, the girls would tell me, oh yeah, you were so good, the best ever, and you know, you really did a great job. But none of those girls would ever come back to see me. They would all say this stuff. Almost none of them would ever like see me again in the bedroom. This absolutely drove me crazy. Like, I'm doing everything right? So why aren't they coming back? And it took me a year and a half to realize that this advice actually makes you worse in the bedroom. It makes girls repulsed by you. And for me to explain this, like, here's the thing, right? We both watched adult content, right? Not anymore. That stuff's like for losers, poisons your brain, etc. But we used to watch it in the past. And I used to watch certain videos or clips or multiple like follow-up videos simply because of the storylines. Yes, we all had our favorite actors. Me, I like, you know, Sarah J and Christina Carter and Candy Manson and some other ones simply because of like their face, but especially their body. But I would watch certain videos just for the storyline in those videos. For example, like I really liked like taking control of the teacher, you know, switching that power dynamic, or you're disciplining the housekeeper, whatever. Those certain storylines I liked more. All right, you likely have your own ones that you liked more as well. And I would keep watching those videos even if the girl in the video wasn't that attractive. Now, of course, in a perfect world, we want the girl to be attractive and the perfect storyline, but I always opted for the storyline over just the hot girl. Of course, you know, I mix things up. And for women, like in the real world, this is a million times more extreme. This is why women consume nearly all erotica, like written adult content. So realize if you want to be good in the bedroom, it's not about thrust speed or how fast your tongue is or how good you can do X, Y, or how good you look naked. It's the story she's telling herself from you being dominant, you taking control, taking the lead, doing what you want unwaveringly, unhesitatingly, strong eye contact. Trust me right now, those like white guys that drive 2004 Toyota pickup trucks and wear monster hats and like go fishing on the weekends, those guys who have never thought about the girl's pleasure when having intimacy are a million times better at it than the guys who are thinking about the girl's pleasure, even though this sounds counterintuitive. Think about the movie 50 Shades of Grey, right? This is the most popular like book ever written, which for like female fantasies, and also a movie as well now. And it's literally the guy just using the girl. Like he says this explicitly and it's like pointed out, if the girl is just being used for the guy's pleasure. And also there was a book written by ex-Google engineers based on search results, and it was titled A Billion Wicked Thoughts, which is looking at women's adult content searches. And I kid you not, I'm not making this up, look it up. The top 5 adult content searches for women were vampire, werewolf, pirate, billionaire, and surgeon. If you think about it, all 5 of these archetypes of people, they're using the girl for their pleasure. The vampire needs her for blood. The billionaire needs the girl because he doesn't need her, but the billionaire is so rich, he can have any girl he wants. So he can have anything he wants. So he just uses the girl for his pleasure and he can throw her away and replace her. The surgeon wants her for her organ. So when I started being much more selfish in the bedroom, doing what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, what positions, when she was giving me pleasure and all that stuff, I had a million times more pleasure than ever before. But also, the girls enjoyed it way more, and also my pee-pee had way more blood flow to it. 150% erections, had a bigger pee-pee. All these benefits came, and it pains me that I never thought of this before, that I had so many bad experiences with women thinking that I was trying to have a better experience with them. Now, the last thing to point out here is also when you are selfish in the bedroom, you're caring just about your pleasure, you also forget about things that may stress you out because of your body imperfection. So for example, when the lockdowns happened in California, and this place locked down harder than an active shooter drill because of the common cold, I lost all of the muscle I'd built up for the past 5 years. Like a huge part of my personality was tied into being like the jacked guy. And now I was this skinny twig. I was embarrassing myself in the mirror. So I would get nervous about that when I was, naked with a girl. Also, when I was younger, I had very bad acne, and I had some acne in between my pecs, and I picked at it, which left acne scars, and I kept picking at it, which left these really deep craters like in between my pecs, which I ended up fixing eventually. But people thought I had some heart surgery done because of how bad the acne scarring was. No, I fixed the acne scarring, and I ended up getting a decent amount of that muscle back that I've lost, not all the way yet, but I would get insecure in the bedroom because of my bodily appearance. However, when I started being way more selfish in the bedroom, I just had one thought on my mind, my pleasure, my pleasure. I ended up completely forgetting about these imperfections, which also led to me being less stressed out and having a bigger pee-pee. And then of course, the biggest issue most guys have related to their body is the size of their pee-pee. A friend of mine, one of them who actually has a small pee-pee, not an absurdly small one, he's overhyping it obviously, but he does have a smaller pee-pee. He told me after I gave him this tip that when he cared more about his pleasure, he had completely forgotten about the size of his pee-pee. And also, just quick tip, makes you feel a bit better. In all studies done, about 92% of women reported that a small pee-pee wasn't a deterrent for them, and that's because, like we mentioned before, your biggest sexual organ for guys and for girls is their brain. The story she's telling herself is more important than this actual thrust speed, the size of your pee-pee, or how good you go down on her. And if you are present and comfortable in the bedroom with this girl, because one, you're on self-transformation stat, so you are an exceptional guy and you can get many options of girls, and two, you are more selfish in the bedroom, so you can have more pleasure and be present, and the girl will as well, and you're not thinking about your body imperfections, you will have insanely more blood flow to your pee-pee and hence a bigger pee-pee. Plus a ton of other benefits we covered as well, like just enjoying spending time with the girl and being on dates and all that other stuff. All right, now part B of section 1, Get Snug as a Bug, is to foster an emotional connection. So earlier this year, I was living abroad in Medellin, Colombia. And during my time there, I made it a very big habit to be social. I would talk to a bunch of people at cafes, coffee shops, restaurants. I would spend my time outdoors, not in my apartment. And I started making friends with groups of people that would invite me out to parties, going sightseeing, etc. And during my time doing that, meeting those people, I met a whole bunch of girls that I was with, but 2 girls specifically I want to talk about right now. Now, girl number 1 was cute, but nothing crazy attractive wise. But I really liked this girl's personality. She was kind, feminine, caring, affectionate. I remember when we were on a tour, I had to stop and tie my shoe. The group was going ahead and she stopped and waited back for me. She bought me protein bars. She knew I was bulking. They were these soy protein bars. get that garbage out of here. We're not putting that estrogenic crap inside our bodies. So I threw them out when she wasn't looking. But I really love this girl's personality. Now, girl number 2, on the other hand, was very attractive. Face-wise, she was more attractive than girl number 1, and body-wise, she was way more attractive than girl number 1. Her personality was, average. She was polite, wasn't rude or anything, but I just didn't feel the same level of connection with her that I felt with girl number 1. Now, I invited both of these girls over on a weekend, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. However, that weekend, I was incredibly stressed out. I screwed up something big at work. I wasted like an entire week and a half on something. I had immense pain in both of my knees from a knee injury I'm still suffering with right now. I was like agitated, mad. The Airbnb I booked, I was an idiot and forgot to check if they had an AC, so it was like hot in my apartment as well. Everything was just off that weekend. And I invited that girl over on Saturday. We had food, we hung out, and now I brought her back to my place. I went to do the deed with her, and my pee-pee didn't work. And this stressed me out even more because I thought I had permanently fixed this problem. It was behind me and in the past, but it wasn't. It came back now. And that got me even more stressed out. So after she left, after she left the next morning, I was so agitated and mad, I just jerked off. And now that same day, later that evening, because it was now Sunday, girl number 1 was gonna come over. Girl number 1 came over. I'm even more stressed out now. And my pee-pee worked fantastic. Better than fantastic. It was like rock hard, like 200% erection, insane amount of blood flow. This thing was huge. Then in the middle of the night, we woke up again because it was like very hot. And my pee-pee also worked amazing. 200% erection. The thing was massive. And I was thinking, like, how does this even make sense? I was so stressed out, and you know how stress affects your pee-pee. So I was expecting like no erection at all with this girl. But now, instead of that, with girl number 1, the girl that came over on Sunday, how it didn't make, I was so like flabbergasted. It shouldn't be able to work. I also jerked off that morning, so it should even have like a less percentage of it working. Why did it not just work, but it worked incredibly? Why was it so massive? And I realized it was because I had an emotional connection with that girl. I felt so comfortable and relaxed and at ease and just in love with her presence that any stress, frustration, agitation I had just melted away. Because when I was with her, I forgot everything else. Whereas with girl number 2, that wasn't the case. She was just, I felt like no real deep, super deep connection with her. And when I thought back on this, I realized that when I had like performance ED problems, it was 95% of the time with girls I was like hooking up with the first time or dating. It was almost never girls I had like a very long relationship with, or girls that were my girlfriend. You've had a girlfriend as well in the past. You know that like feeling of intimacy and closeness you get with a girlfriend, and especially having that like play out with the bedroom isn't the same as just some like hot girl you hook up with or you're just like dating short term. Because connection equals erection with insane amounts of blood flow equals bigger pee-pee. Now, with some girls, it's just uncontrollable. You will just feel a deeper emotional connection with them pretty much right off the gate or after 1 or 2 dates. But with other girls, that's not the case. However, as time went on, I realized you can actually build an emotional connection with a girl on dates. And this is also just a pro tip to have much better dates that turn into second dates, third dates, girlfriends, etc. So for a long time, I was doing what these cringy red pill YouTubers say of just keeping it casual on dates and asking her questions nonstop and just showing no emotions whatsoever, staying in your masculine frame, turning into Terminator, doing all that stuff. And although that does give you more success than all this blue-pilled garbage, it doesn't build an emotional connection with this girl at all. What I found was when a girl opens up deeply about herself, things she doesn't share with most strangers, that's when the emotional connection between you and her starts to form. Here's how I would do this. When the first date would happen, I would immediately get all that boring, bland, blasé, like, what do you do for work? Oh, wow. Where'd you go to school? Oh, really? Okay. What car do you drive? Oh, yeah. What do you do for fun? Get that crap out of there as fast as possible because you will not build an emotional connection with that. Instead, what I would do once I get that out of the way as fast as possible, either just talk about it really fast, boom, done, okay? Or just don't bring it up at all, is I would ask her about traveling because girls just love to talk about traveling nonstop. Everybody knows that. So let's start talking about traveling and she's saying, oh, yeah, I went to Spain last year and I was going to go to Italy this year, but my sister, she got sick, but I might go to Belarus next summer. Like, oh, I will not brush that off. Wait, her sister got sick. I won't pry into it, but I'll like dig a bit. Oh, really? What happened to her? A hippo bit her. No way. Then she got leukemia. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. How'd that make you feel? which it sounds kind of bad when I say it out loud right now. But, or if that doesn't happen, she doesn't kind of open something up that would like lead down that sort of pathway, I'll do something called world building, where I'll say, you know what, it's 5 o'clock right now. We can catch a 7 o'clock flight if we go grab some stuff. Where would you want to fly to? Oh, well, I guess I want to go to Britain. Okay, cool, Britain. Or yeah, we'll go to Britain. I'm down with Britain. We should stay. How long do you want to stay in Britain for? Oh, we'll go for a week. Oh, a week, okay. Where should we go after? She's like, oh, well, Germany maybe. Okay, and then you build up this like imaginary future scenario, which is like a very fun game for girls. Like they really enjoy this, where like you're going like hopping country to country, and okay, we're gonna spend 2 months here and 1 month here, and oh, my parents might not approve that. Okay, we'll just run away together, we'll get married. Like, you know, it's this fake scenario, because as I mentioned earlier, girls love building up stories in her head. So now that she's building up this imaginary future with you, then the bonus is that 1, she likes you more because she's allowed herself to open up to you more, which will imply a greater possibility of, you know, second dates, third dates, etc. But secondly, more importantly, you see her as someone with like her own problems and life, and a real person that you can actually build a connection to. Not just, oh, she's a hot girl, I don't normally get hot girls that are this hot, or etc. So I found the best way to build an emotional connection is simply get her to open up deeply about herself. Second best is doing world building, where she's building up an imaginary like fake scenario with you in the future where you're traveling, or then, you know what, after we travel, we should probably settle down and have some kids. Where should we settle down to? Oh, nah, I can't do Boston. It's too cold over there. Let's go somewhere else. Let's go, you know, let's raise our kids abroad. You know, this fake scenario, because girls absolutely love this. Like, think about it. These girls are always watching like Keeping Up with the Kardashians or true crime or American Horror Story. Like, they can literally watch crime horror thrillers before bed and somehow sleep soundly that night. Like, these girls love drama and storytelling. So give that to her to build that connection. Now, I don't recommend you share a bunch of like deep personal stuff about yourself, especially on the first date. Because again, the same way with stories, girls do like mystery. So if you tell her all this deep stuff about yourself, she probably won't like you as much. Girls like peeling back the onion slowly, finding out about you very slowly. And what I found is when she opens up deeply about herself, that's normally enough to start building up a real deep emotional connection between you two. But you can, over time, start maybe on the second date, share like a deep thing about yourself, and very slowly just sprinkle these little nuggets as the relationship ensues. Because again, connection equals erection with an insane amount of blood flow equals a much bigger PP. All right, now part C of section 1, get snug as a bug, is be good in the bedroom. So when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, I absolutely hated giving presentations. I always felt awkward, nervous. I don't really know what to say. I hated if they asked questions at the end of the presentation, because I always did like the bare minimum work to get by. When they asked like questions about it, like, I'm not gonna know the answers to it. So I hated presentations, like, oh, next slide. Okay, and just reading the slides out. I always did so bad at them. Even right now, having flashbacks of how terrible they all were. Except my freshman year of high school. I did a presentation once on video games and how they are beneficial to you. Absolutely killed this presentation. Like, I did a phenomenal job. Every time I'm like, you know what? Video games improve teamwork. Video games improve your ability to make decisions quickly. Video games improve your hand-eye coordination. Video games improve your, all this stuff. And every time somebody asked a question, even the teacher, I nailed them down, because I was a video game addict. And I wanted to prove to other people, oh yeah, video games are fantastic. By the way, when I say addict, if you ever just got absolutely destroyed by somebody between 2012 to 2016, if you ever just got murked by somebody, it was me. Like, I destroyed you. I was the best of the best. So I got an A+ presentation, and now that we're older, we both know video games are actually, like, that was coke. Video games are for losers. Avoid that stuff that you would avoid a pride parade in June. It'll take you nowhere in your life. But when I sat down, I realized I had zero insecurities about that presentation. Not a single thought went through my head. I was so present, focused, and confident because I was an expert on this subject. I had put so much time to make sure this presentation went well. I can name you exactly what angles you play video games to where these things would help you out in. I knew that stuff inside out, backwards, like the back of my hand. And the bedroom with a girl works in the exact same way. You see, most young guys don't have a ton of bedroom experience. If you actually think about it, like, be honest, like, take your ego out of this. If you're under the age of like 30, you don't have much experience in the bedroom. Sex is a very intimate thing. Like, we don't see other people do sex. Of course, there's like adult content. We all know it's completely fake and for losers. If you were playing basketball, you could at least see what the best people are doing and model what they're doing. Oh, he does layups or he fakes this way, then he goes that way, and incorporate those things into when you play basketball because you're seeing other people do it. If you only had like a basketball rule book that you could read, so much of the stuff, like a double dribble crossover and then just fake spin on this hand, technically because the ball never left, it still counts or something. That stuff wouldn't have occurred to you if you only read the rule book had you not seen someone else do it. To give you one more example of this, back when I used to run cross country and track, one of the guys on the team, a senior guy, came up to me, looked at me dead in the eyes, and he asked me, when you wipe your ass after you take a dump, do you do it sitting down or standing up / crouching? It's sitting down, like how else would you wipe your ass? People do it standing up. And I later learned one of the guys had read an article that stated that about half of all Americans wipe their ass sitting down and half do it like standing up or like bending, like, you know, half crouching, something like that. And both people are completely oblivious that the other side actually exists because we don't see other people take a dump, right? So we assume the way we do it is normal and so everybody else does it. And being good in the bedroom works in the exact same way. Most people are oblivious to what they don't know. So how do you actually be good in bed? This is a subject I want to cover in an entire deep dive in the future, but to bring up a few key points right now, a few tips you can take away and implement right away. So tip 1, the biggest thing I can tell you is what we already talked about earlier. Be selfish in the bedroom. Think about your own pleasure. See the girl as just an object of your pleasure, because when you do that, you are ultra present. And girls are really into that. Plus, you are a lot more dominant because you do what you want unwaveringly, unhesitatingly, and you're leading, taking control, which girls are very much into. If you take nothing away from this video, incorporate this one tip into the bedroom and you will be a million times better. Number 2, realize that girls are not delicate. They're not a glass vase. Don't be scared to push, shove, throw them around. And girls, believe me, are into that. And also, don't be scared to put more of your body weight, muscles, and strength into the girl. Like if you're on top of the girl and your hands are on her personalities, let's say, and you just put more of your body weight on them. Or let's say you're doing a certain position and you just pull her in even harder than what you would normally do. Or you simply show off how strong you are just in certain movements. Believe me right now, a lot of girls simply climax just from you putting more of your body weight and pressure on them. Don't treat her like she's the Queen of England, some 90-year-old super frail person. Like, believe me, girls want to be like abused sometimes in the bedroom. So don't be scared to push pressure on them. Also, the Queen of England's like dead now, so that wouldn't even really apply. She'll be even more delicate now. Thirdly, restrict her movement. This can be holding her arms down, holding her hands down. It can be pinning her arms under her legs. It can be leaving her underwear or jeans on so she's not able to fully extend her legs. And the same thing with like clothing on the upper body, she's not able to fully extend her arms. Because when you do this, the girl is like under your control. She's very vulnerable and they like giving up that control to you. Fourth, being spontaneous, both like in the bedroom and in the relationship, even if it's just like a friends with benefits, spinning plates, etc. Because these two things are very closely intertwined. If anybody ever says like, oh, Friday night dates, just me and my wife, no matter what, Friday nights are just time for me and my missus, I know for a fact their bedroom life is terrible. Because like the song goes, girls just want to have fun, and girls get bored way faster than guys do. They need excitement in their life. That's why most relationships and divorces are initiated, like the ending is initiated by women, because they get bored of guys very, very quickly. This is why girls are always watching like Keeping Up with the Kardashians or murder mysteries. Like, they need drama in their life, and if you don't create that drama, they'll create it. And trust me, you will like the drama they create a lot less than the drama that you can create for them. So how do you implement this? You can, one, just like text a girl randomly, just, hey, meet me here tomorrow, 8 p.m., wear a dress and heels. If she says yes, then go take her someplace exciting. Doesn't have to be expensive. If she says no, just don't even respond to her answer. Make her think that you're taking some other girl out at that same time. It can be just like going to the bank and getting like $2-3 grand in cash, putting in a bag, asking her to count it. Like, babe, how much is this? Oh, what do you want to know? How much is it? $2,400, because girls can't count. Saying, all right, cool. Taking her right back to the bank. Like imagine you have some double life scenario to give her. It can be just like taking her to like fun events, like free stuff on Facebook Marketplace, comedy clubs, going to like a modern art museum and pretending like, what is this little white dot on a black canvas actually symbolize? And now in terms of like bedroom stuff, it can be just bending her over at random times of the day. It can be forcing her to like give you pleasure at random times of the day. It can be like just making out with her super aggressively, then just being super like laid back, passionate, and relaxed. It can be like getting her to get horny and get onto you, then just rejecting her for sex. You can do a whole bunch of stuff there. Because when you do this stuff every now and then, which is relatively easy to implement, you stand out from every other guy who does the exact same stuff. Like, hey, you want to get food Friday? Cool. Same time, same place, in and out. And then like, hey, let's head back to my place, or hey, you want to head back to my car. You actually give her some fun and excitement in her life. She'll be thinking about you nonstop, like, what's he gonna do next? And, oh my God, I can't imagine. I can't wait to see him next time. She'll be telling her girlfriends about you. Girl, do I have a story to tell? Girl, you won't believe what, girl. Well, she gets bored of every other guy she's talking to so quickly, she just wants you. Also, quick pro tip, somewhat relevant here. If you are in the bedroom, you feel like your boner is dying down, just slap the tip of your pee-pee onto your hand. That causes it to get inflamed. So temporarily, enough like a session with your girl, it will actually boost blood flow to your pee-pee. It actually is a bit like detrimental, like long-term, just be slapping your pee-pee nonstop. But if you're in a position where for some reason you feel like it's dying down a little bit, just slapping the tip of your pee-pee against your hand, it's getting a little bit of inflamedness, it will actually boost blood flow to it as a defense mechanism your body kicks in to just protect itself. But that wraps up section 1 of getting snug as a bug. To quickly summarize this entire section, all 3 parts. 1, you want to be comfortable around this girl so you're not stressed out, and you do that by being present in the moment, which you do by 1, getting on self-transformation stat. You know you have so many options for girls. You don't feel pressure that this girl is your winning lottery ticket. 2, that means you are selfish in the bedroom, thinking about your own pleasure, because that makes you very present and makes her enjoy the experience just as much as you. Thirdly, you want to build an emotional connection with this girl, which you do by getting her to open up deeply on dates or when you spend any time with her. And you can do this by getting her to open up deeply and talk about something about her personal life, or by doing that tactic called world building, where you build this imaginary fake scenario with her in the future when you guys are married or just traveling abroad, doing whatever. Especially traveling, girls love that. And lastly, you be good in the bedroom by incorporating these tips. You know that you actually are experienced and you don't feel so nervous. Implement this, you will have way more blood flow to your pee-pee and a bigger pee-pee. All right, section 2, gather glitter, aka increase blood flow circulation through your body through lifestyle tweaks. Part A, avoid chronic stillness and compression. So back in 2020, when the lockdowns hit in place, I was in California, specifically in the Bay Area, specifically in one of the most liberal counties in the Bay Area. And believe me, this place locked down harder than an active shooter drill. Everything was shut down. I had no gym I could go to, no movies. I had no MMA gym. I couldn't go hang out with my friends anywhere. Even like outdoor parks were closed. Walking trails were closed. It made no sense. Even outdoor dining was closed. Everything was shut down. So all I had to do was basically sit on my computer at home, play video games, respond to dumb socialists on Twitter, which is just any socialist basically, and watch videos on YouTube. And what I noticed was very quickly, after just a week and a half, 2 weeks, going from a very active person who was on, at college, walking everywhere to get places, going to the gym, to now spending my entire day sitting down, I felt like a bit numb in my legs and my lower back, and it kept spreading to my entire lower body. Then I started feeling really tight and very like chronic stiffness in my knees, and my legs kept feeling tighter and tighter. I would feel lethargic, energy drained, tired all the time, which made no sense even though I was just sitting down. And eventually I ended up having like really bad like back pain and knee pain just from sitting so much. So of course the first thing I did was absolutely nothing. Instead of actually being proactive and fixing the problem, I just ended up wasting time with politics on Twitter, thirst traps on Instagram, and videos on YouTube. But one day when I was scrolling through videos and seeing, like Nancy Pelosi just maskless at a hair salon after she basically said, this is such an important disease we have to worry about, everything shut down, her breaking her own rules, and a bunch of Democrats just doing all this garbage, I stumbled across something that you likely saw as well very often during the lockdowns. It was impossible to miss on YouTube, and that was desk setups. These things were everywhere. It's basically these productivity guys, these minimalists, these tech YouTubers, entrepreneurs, all showing off their insane desk. Like these guys had like $1,000 wooden epoxy desks that was a sit stand desk with like a 5-foot curved monitor, an extra monitor, ultra crazy speakers. The whole thing had LED lights. It was super organized, super arranged. Like, like these things were blowing up because, of course, everybody was sitting at home. So what else could we have in common besides having a desk setup? So I'm watching these videos on my like IKEA wobbly desk and my like laptop connected to a second monitor. It's like 5 seconds too slow. Thinking like, oh my God, this is crazy. One day I'm gonna have this set up. And I realized that, hold up, these guys, their mechanical keyboard costs like $400, more than my entire desk setup. So I was looking at that, but I also realized, hold up, all of these guys have sit-stand desks. Like every single one of them didn't have like a traditional desk. You just like use a chair. They were all adjustable. And in their videos, they all mentioned, yeah, it helps with posture and energy levels, and it helps with blood circulation and this and that. And I'm looking at this like, no way. There's no way just standing up can have all of these benefits. You know, I stand up when I walk to the kitchen to get something to eat, and I stand up now and then. There's no way this is actually real. They're obviously overhyping this stuff so they can get, you know, sponsorships from these companies, and so they can we'll all click on that link in the description. There's no way that a sit-stand desk, like which costs like a few $100, is actually that important. But as time went on, I kept seeing sit-stand desks, sit-stand desks. Sitting is the new smoking. You have to stop sitting so much. We need more active lifestyles. And these companies who are selling these sit-stand desks, these overpriced sit-stand desks, because it just looks nice and it's like fancy or whatever, were racking in insane amounts of money. Now, yes, the lockdowns did happen, which caused a bunch of people to spend long amounts of time sitting down. But even if we hadn't been locked in our homes as the common cold, our societies are headed more and more towards a sedentary lifestyle. For various reasons, more people are friendless, technology's made life easier and all this stuff. So now the average person spends 10 to 12 hours sitting down per day. If you think about it, out of 24 hours a day, 8 hours of sleeping, that's an insane amount. And it actually does have insanely negative health repercussions. Because you're sitting down, your lungs can't fully expand, which starts to shrink your lungs with time. Because you're not using your lower body muscles as much, and they need to be used often, the bone density in them starts to shrink. Your bones become more brittle. It starts to slowly tear apart your spine because certain muscles are staying permanently flexed while others are permanently relaxed. And worst of all, especially for us talking about having a bigger peepee, it drastically drops blood flow and prevents proper blood circulation throughout your body. Because when you're sitting down, your body weight is actually crushing the blood vessels in your buttocks, PP area, making them less responsive and able to expand in the future. Additionally, when you are sitting down, your leg muscles aren't contracting and relaxing like they are when you're walking. So there's less reason to send blood flow down to your lower body. And then of course, the nerves in your pelvic area, which control blood flow to your brain, are also blood flow to your PP, are being crushed by your body weight, which makes them less responsive with time. I was reading back then that our bodies are still primitive. They're designed to be hunting, gathering, murking enemy villagers. But now we just all do that stuff on Minecraft, sitting down on our PC. And that's why people who sit down for more than 8 hours per day have double the risk of erectile dysfunction and just smaller peepees. And the worst part is you can't undo the damage. If you sit for 8 hours per day, but then you do 2 hours, like 2 hours of super intense cardio, that still doesn't undo sitting down for 8 hours. And most people will not come anywhere close to doing 2 hours of intense cardio per day. So eventually, after realizing all this and doing my own research, I had to swallow my ego and realize that me sitting down for over 9 hours a day, because I played video games, I was a computer science student, and I had a very just sedentary life. So I was also going to be a software engineer soon. I should be proactive, be smart, and just make the investment to buy a sit-stand desk. So that's what I did. Went on Amazon, found the best one I could, best reviews, best specs, everything. A very, very sturdy one too. I hated those like wobbly things, which cost me only about $225. Because at the time, these had become so popular, the prices had been dropping. If you want to know like the one I have, it's not sponsored or anything, but it's linked in the description in my kits, in my power product. Not sponsored. But I bought that, and then I bought a topper for it as well. And I made it a habit to start standing up when I was working. And when I stood up for the first time after working, I was in immense pain. Like it hurt to just stand up and get work done. After 5 minutes, like my lower back, my legs were in agony. And that was a real wake-up call to just me realizing I've spent decades of my life sitting down in school, in college, for work. What I ended up doing was breaking up my work into 90-minute deep work sessions 3 times every single day. And I would spend the first 45 minutes of that deep work session just standing up. Of course, when you're standing up, you're tapping your feet, you're leaning over, and it feels nice. And by the time you get a bit tired at that 45-minute mark, then I sit down and I have a renewal just burst of energy. And by doing that, I'm standing up now for an hour and a half per day, kind of tapping around, moving my feet, so getting some good blood flow in there. I noticed I was way less lethargic, way more productive when I was working on. Work was flying by way faster, less tight in my lower body. I felt way more flexible, and of course, more blood flow. It's crazy what a difference just standing up makes compared to sitting down 24/7. So I'd highly recommend, if you can, get a sit-stand desk, because if you're like me, then you likely spend a lot of time sitting down as well. And actually, the pro move after you buy a sit-stand desk, if you can have the money for it, is buy an under-desk treadmill. This is basically like a thin pad, like a treadmill without the top part, that you walk on as you get work done. And basically, since you're walking like very, very, very slowly, like 1 mile an hour, just slowly moving your feet forward, you get insanely more amounts of blood flow to your lower body, your PP area, your legs, because your muscles are contracting and relaxing. So I bought one of those as well. Even though right now I don't even have a job, I know that any investment into my health and me sitting down for hours every single day will pay off massive dividends in the future. The one that I bought is still shipping, so I can't give you an honest review on it. I only found out about this relatively recently ago, but I'm very excited to try it out. I would highly recommend you pick up both of these things, if not just the sit-stand desk. But depending on who you are, maybe you're in college, maybe you don't have the money on you right now, whatever the case might be, the next thing I did to avoid chronic stillness was simply go on way more walks. Because around a year ago, Andrew Huberman, who is now a very famous podcaster, was popping off on YouTube. And his claim to fame, how he got so popular, was he would break down these research papers in the health space and tell you how to apply them to your own life. If you've read a research paper before, like, they're super confusing to look at. You read the abstract and it's like EMG analysis on 24 untrained individuals, so that after a 4-month period, the 17% of VO2, like, it's confusing to read. But he would break down these research papers to teach you how to incorporate these health practices into your own life and what to expect. And when you watch his content, it becomes very clear that he talks nonstop about one thing, which is getting sunlight in your eyes first thing in the morning. Every podcast, every short, every video he made, he always talks about getting sunlight in your eyes first thing in the morning. It's like he wanted to patent the idea of just looking at the sky. But he mentions how when you do this first thing in the morning, 90 minutes after you wake up or sooner, it basically resets your body. Like, imagine you walk into a clock store and all the clocks are on a different time. If you don't get sunlight into your eyes, that's what happens to your body. Its rhythm becomes out of whack. Because when you look at sunlight first thing in the morning, not like the sun, but like the bright part around the sun, it spikes up cortisol. Now, yes, cortisol is a stress hormone. Other things happen as well, but this is good stress because it basically tells your body, hey, I'm awake now, let's start waking up, get these processes moving, which it wouldn't have if you didn't see sunlight, because the neurons get red by your eyes, even on cloudy days. And because your body is now clearly awake because you've seen the sun, it's not in this weird half limbo, half awake, half sleep state, it improves your mood, your wakefulness, your energy levels, your alertness, etc. So I took his advice, and every single morning I kicked off the day after I brushed my teeth with a short 10-minute walk around the neighborhood I was in. And believe me when I tell you, I felt incredible. Yes, I got sunlight in my eyes, that was fantastic, but also just going for a walk, stretching your legs, getting a bit of blood flow in you, made me feel fantastic. It pained me that I spent decades of my life, I just woke up and first thing just sat down on the computer. When I went for that walk, I felt alert and ready, excited to hit the day hard that I hadn't felt before. And this is such an easy thing to do, which is why I think most people don't do it and they just stay at home. It doesn't seem to be worthwhile. It seems so insignificant, but it actually isn't when you add it up every single day. So I made it a habit to go for a walk every morning. And I also made it a habit to go for a walk every night right before bed, so the cool air will actually get you colder and get you primed for bed. And then I also made it a habit that after every 90-minute deep work session, I would go for like some kind of short walk, either a short walk around my neighborhood. I'd go, like, take out the trash, water the garden, etc. Because what I learned in a different book I was reading on focus and productivity is actually going for these short little walks when your blood starts flowing through your body. it gets you amped and focused and prepared for your next deep work session, so you're even more productive and energized. Yes, you lose like a bit of time in your day walking, but you get back by being twice as focused when you go to get your work done. Just this one habit of going for a walk every morning and just walking in general more has been the best habit I picked up all of last year. I got more value from that than any book I read, any podcast I listened to, any video I saw, or anything else I had to implement to improve my health. The CDC recommends the average American walk 10,000 steps per day. You know, if like a medical place is saying it must be like a very, very low standard, and the average American only gets to about 3,500. But this small tip right here, just going for more walks, will notably improve your PP and give you a ton of other health benefits. So try incorporating more walks into your routine. Now, there were two other things I did to avoid chronic stillness and compression, and one of them was to avoid tight clothing. So earlier last year, I was very interested in environmental toxins, hormone disruptors, in maximizing testosterone, and one thing I learned about was estrogenics, which are a class of chemical that when come into contact with your body, they will lower your testosterone, give you cancer, immune system problems, infertility, a whole host of problems, and just how rampant they are in our modern world. This is a subject for another day, but one of those estrogenics is plastic, because plastic is made of very toxic chemicals like bisphenols and then phthalates to make it bendable, durable, and transparent. And if you don't actually know this, most synthetic fibers are actually just types of plastic: polyester, elastane, spandex, nylon. These are all plastic. So when you wear this plastic-based clothing, billions of nanoplastics go in through your skin into your body and cause a whole host of problems. But it was in this process of learning about plastic and these synthetic fibers, I also learned that when you wear very tight clothing in your pelvic area, then one, it actually increases your infertility because it makes this area very hot. And your balls are meant to stay cooler than the rest of your body. That's why they hang away from you. When your balls get hot, it kills your sperm. And secondly, when you wear this very tight, like compression, like super tight influencer skinny jeans, or like compression underwear, or even boxer briefs, and as well as like, you know, very tight belts, damages the nerves in your pelvic region and makes them less responsive, which leads to less blood flow to your PP. You should try to be keeping this tight-fitting, compression, form-fitting clothing out of your closet, the same way you want to be keeping gender ideology out of your kids' class. So I learned about this. That's what I did. I got rid of like the one pair of like skinny, slim fit jeans I had, and I now just have all regular jeans that are just taper at the bottom so they look nice. I also just wear a belt that isn't super tight because I made sure the jeans that I have actually fit me correctly on the waist. I only have one pair of jeans now. I'm just a big minimalist, but they fit me properly. They're not super tight or anything. And I also swapped out, I threw away all the compression boxer briefs I had and now only wear boxers. I wear very comfortable 100% cotton boxers, so my balls have plenty of room to breathe. And then of course you get extra blood flow because nothing is being compressed. Making the switch from boxer brief to boxers is optional for maximizing blood flow to your PP. It won't make that big of a difference unless you're wearing like some super tight compression boxer briefs, which you likely aren't. But for other reasons like infertility, I'd recommend you just throw them out. But definitely throw any super tight jeans you have or any tight belts. You don't want that stuff in you. If you're also wondering, the underwear I have and other clothing that I wear every day is linked in the description in my kits. Nothing sponsored. If you just want to know what I wear for inspiration for yourself, it's there as well. But now the other thing I did to avoid chronic stillness and compression into my life to maximize blood flow to my PP is to incorporate supersets in my gym workouts for every single exercise. So a few months back, I was driving through soccer fields my way to get to the gym. I was taking a different road because I was coming from someplace else. And I would see all these kids on the soccer field, like remembering how much cardio there was in soccer. Like all these kids, even the defenders and the goalie are still like moving around side to side, closing in the gap, depending on where the soccer ball is. Like I'm amazed how much cardio these kids do. And even on the sidelines, the kids that weren't playing soccer were still like kicking the ball to themselves or practicing with another goalpost, or they were kicking the ball to like the wall and bouncing it back and forth. And then when I went to the gym and I walked to the weights room, I realized, hold up, 95% of this gym at any given moment isn't actually lifting weights. They're just sitting around on their phone, just like on TikTok, just wasting time talking to somebody. They're not actually actively working out. Now, of course, when you're doing resistance training, you do need time to rest. Whereas when you play sports, people don't sit down all the time. Like imagine you go to the basketball court and there's 20 people on the court and 18 are sitting down. Only 2 are actually playing. Now, at the same time I had this revelation, I had a job. I was working as a software engineer, and this was a very busy time. The quarter was about to close out. We needed good profits to have for our stock to go up. I had a lot riding on me because I was thinking about getting further into my career, and I was trying to find a way to cut down time in my lifestyle to make room for just working a little bit more to get things wrapped up. And I realized I was spending like over 3 hours at the gym every time I went, plus the commute there. So I'm thinking, like, why am I spending so much time here? And I was looking to find the answer online to speed up my workouts. I came across a video from Arnold Schwarzenegger, the OG bodybuilder, talking about how he always did supersets in his workouts. If you don't know, supersets are just when you perform one exercise and then you either immediately or after like a minute 30 seconds perform a different exercise that usually works a different muscle group. So Arnold would always go and do the bench press, and once he finished, he'd go take a sip of water, walk over to the pull-ups bar, the lat pull down, and do lat pull downs. Take a sip of water, walk back to the chest, walk back to the bench press, do his bench press. And by doing this, he actually saved time in the gym. Now, of course, Arnold was on more juice than Captain Kool-Aid. He needed his workouts to go by faster. He was working out like 3 times per day because he was taking all these steroids. But the principle is solid, because when you do an exercise, it takes about a minute for your breathing to return back to normal, but it takes 2 to 3 minutes for your muscles to recover after that exercise. So when you do a superset, let's say, for example, you do curls. You're doing your curls, you put the weight down, get a sip of water, walk over to tricep extensions, do some tricep extensions. By the time you've done those and you come back to curls, you've already spent 2 to 3 minutes resting the muscles you use for curls, your biceps. So you can now hit them again. And by doing this, I saved so much time in the gym. And on top of that, I was moving around more often. Okay, walking here, walking there, sip of water, okay, walking back here. Now I'm walking the bench press. Now I'm walking to the lat pull downs. Now I'm walking to the, whatever the case might be. I'm walking around the gym to do these supersets. And by doing this simple tweak, I'm saving 25, 30 minutes of time that usually just gets wasted sitting around in every single workout. And then while I work out at the gym lifting weights, I'm walking around more, so I'm getting those increased steps and more blood flow circulating throughout my body to get a bigger PP. Also, quick pro tip here, if you're going to leave your equipment to go do a superset, put your water bottle right in front of the equipment. So if I just finished tricep extensions, I'll put my water bottle right in front of my cables, then I'll go walk over, do something else, some pull-ups. And if somebody sees there's a water bottle clearly in front of a piece of equipment, they know somebody else is gonna use it. They're not gonna re-rack, move around your stuff and waste your time. Say, oh, actually, bro, I was on that. And it just saves a whole bunch of a hassle. But now those are the big 4 to avoid for chronic stillness and compression. Depending on your lifestyle, there may be many more. For example, if you take the subway every single day to get to your college, get to your job, and you're just sitting down the entire ride for an hour and a half each way, maybe try to opt for standing so you're moving around a bit more or doing something of that nature. Just try to find ways to be less still throughout your daily routine, because what you do every single day drastically compounds with time. And just like sitting is the new smoking, stillness and compression in your daily routine will lead to you having a smaller PP, and we don't want that. So now jumping to part B of section 2, gather glitter. This is incorporate high intensity cardio workouts into your routine. So the summer after I graduated high school, before I went into college, I realized that my cardio was intensely lacking. I would get exhausted running up the stairs. I was out of breath trying to keep up with my friends who were playing basketball or just walking up a hill. When I was making out with a girl, I would start wheezing and have to like play it off. Now back then, I'd always thought that muscles equals healthy, and the more muscles you have, the healthier you are. If Liver King was around back when I was in high school, I would have actually thought the guy was natural. But when I was looking up ways to do cardio, everything seemed to just look so boring. Running, cycling, swimming. Having done long distance cross country and track in the past, I thought all this stuff would kill my gains, and it just sucked the life out of me. I didn't want to do it until I found a guy on YouTube who mentioned that you can also do cardio forms like boxing and wrestling. And to me, immediately these sounded cool. All the wrestlers I'd seen in high school, like those were like tough guys. Boxing actually sounded like a lot of fun. And he also made me realize that, hey, by the way, cardio doesn't actually kill your gains, because as long as you're doing your resistance training, you're recovering properly, you're eating enough, your gains will be just fine. So I then started looking online for places near me that offer these sorts of things. And I found a gym with incredible, over 200 5-star reviews. On their website, they mentioned they have a free trial for beginners. I drove over, talked to the guys. They said, yeah, we have a 2-week free trial. So they threw me in for that class the next day, and then finished the warm-ups, and they pulled me aside for the beginners class where they just showed us new guys how to punch, how to block, how to strike, etc. And I remember every single workout for those 2 weeks, I was absolutely gassed. I finished every single warm-up exhausted. Every workout bent over, just nothing left in me, and I absolutely loved it. After every session, when I went home and showered, I felt fantastic. Like I was a new person, like I rid my body of cancer, like liberal parents stopped giving me reversible hormone blocking pills or whatever. Like I had become somebody new. My acne was clearing up. I was more energetic. I was more happier. And after a while of training, about 2 or 3 months, I started feeling way more confident because I was seeing myself improve at the skill, and it's actually applicable in the real world, because when you know how to fight, you have an aura of confidence around you that you can't BS. Every single pro fighter at that gym, believe me, you can tell they're a pro fighter before you've even seen them on the mats because of how they carry themselves. Now, if you think about this evolutionarily, we as humans are more cued in to pick up on subtle body language tweaks like eye contact, posture, hand positioning. These things matter more than the words coming out of our mouth, because for most of human history, language, a shared language, didn't even exist. And after that experience of training there the entire summer, I always prioritized cardio for the rest of my life. Even when I was dirt poor in San Francisco, I would still run every single morning, because even though I hated now running and doing it on my own, I knew the benefits of cardio couldn't be outmatched by anything. So I always made it a habit. And the same thing in college. I was actively looking for clubs, and I found a kickboxing club at my university that I went to twice a week, every single week until the lockdowns hit. And in terms of this guide, when you do cardio, it skyrockets your heart rate, forcing your heart to pump up more blood and your blood vessels to circulate it and also widen to accommodate all that blood flow increase, giving you a much bigger PP. And of everything we'll cover on this guide, this is the best thing you can do to get a bigger PP and overall just improve your life. I do cardio 3 times per week for 7 hours per week total, and every time I've increased it in the past, from 1 time a week to 2 times to 3 times, from going from 2 hours a week to 4 to 6 to 7, my life kept getting better. So I never want to go back to a life without it. So I'd highly recommend you incorporate cardio at least 2 times per week into your routine, preferably 3. I currently do cardio 3 times a week for 7 hours per week, and going from 2 hours to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7, my life continuously got better. So even though I'm spending more time exercising, I'm more productive throughout life. Now, it's easy to get hyped up right now, but it's very hard to actually stay consistent with it. And what I've noticed is it's also very hard to do cardio on your own. Those runs I did in SF were absolutely miserable. The 2 best tips I can give you is simply do cardio with a group and do it in something that you enjoy. Because when you're in a group, you push yourself to that next level. The same when you're running a mile and someone's running next to you, you don't want to be the slowest guy there, so you continually speed up, and there's a sense of wanting to beat them. And in terms of cardio you enjoy, you have to find that for yourself. But if you're a young guy like me, chances are boxing, wrestling, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, you like that aspect of having a real skill and learning how to fight. So I'd recommend those to you. And a subscription you pay to an MMA gym will always be worth it, because your health will pay dividends your entire life. For every 1 hour you exercise, you will live 3 hours longer. But regardless, any cardio is better than no cardio for transforming your life and getting a bigger PP. So whether you want to play basketball, you want to go swimming, you want to do tennis, you want to be a pedophile, a map as they say now, and join some 4-year-old dance team, do whatever you want to do. Maybe not the last one. But that wraps up section 2 of Gather Glitter. To quickly summarize, you want to avoid chronic stillness and compression, so make sure to get a sit-stand desk or a treadmill desk. If you can or can't do that, do try to make it a habit as well, though, to go on walks throughout the day. Make it a habit to avoid any sort of tight compression clothing. Try to incorporate supersets into your gym workouts. And the biggest of them all, do cardio workouts weekly, because those are the best thing you can do to maximize blood flow to your PP. All right, now onto section 3, get the right gas, aka fuel your body properly. Part A, eat whole foods you can point to and name. So right after I got my driving permit, I was all excited. My grandmother asked me to drive her and my sister to a dentist appointment. Great, I get to drive, I'm all excited, get in the car, drove them there, had the whole appointment. It was a far away place, like 45 minutes. And then once we finished the appointment, I realized, oh, I'm out of gas. I'll be proactive though. Stop at a gas station, fill it up. But I realized something. When I pulled over the gas station, I don't know what all those words meant. You have like Techron, Techron Plus, Techron Premium. I didn't learn this from my permit. Just gas is gas, right? Like diesel. So I saw a green tank there with diesel on it, picked it up, put it in my car, filled it up, and drove off. Now, my car was a 2016 Toyota Corolla, which doesn't take diesel. So as I was driving home on the freeway in the fast lane, the entire car just stopped working. It had a complete engine failure. Red lights were flashing everywhere. It started beeping super loud. It kept saying engine failure on the dash. I had to swerve over very quickly because the car just wasn't driving anymore on the freeway. It wasn't accelerating. And the rest of the day was a nightmare. I had to go and get the car towed off the freeway. I had to end up getting it towed to the Toyota repair center nearby. I had to pay for the repairs. It also, that blew out all the spark plugs in my car. To pay for those, insurance wouldn't cover it. Then I had to get a ride all the way to the Toyota place a couple of days later, or about a week later, and have someone, because I was 45 minutes away, and then have to actually drive the car back home. So that was a mess, which cost me about $800 to fix. Thankfully, it could have been a lot worse. But I learned a very valuable lesson in that story. By the way, my family did not stop making fun of me for that to this date. To this date, when we stopped to get gas, they say, oh, don't get the diesel this time. So never lived that one down. But I learned a very valuable lesson that day. If you put the right fuel in the machine, it'll work fantastic. If you put the wrong fuel in the machine, everything will go to hell. And the same thing applies to diet. When I first started lifting weights and getting into like eating food for muscle gains, I started following some YouTubers you've likely heard of named V-Shred and Cali Muscle. And they put out this idea that calories in equals calories out. As long as you hit your macros, your protein, your fats, your carbs, what you actually eat doesn't matter because a calorie is a calorie. So whether it's pizza, Doritos, ice cream, potatoes, pasta, yogurt, just get the right macros and hit your calorie count. But of course, when you tell kids this, they're gonna eat the unhealthy stuff that tastes good. So I was eating ice cream, pizza, donuts. I was eating this like fried, my family used to go to this place called Restaurant Depot, which would like just have these 500 count chicken nuggets, chicken patties that were like all fried in like nasty soybean oil and all this stuff, and heat those up to get my protein out. And of course, when you do these things, I had tremendously bad, horribly bad acne. Energy levels were super low. I constantly felt lethargic and drained. I even had like acne in my ears. I was irritable. I had stomach pains. I had problems sleeping because these things, they have no nutritional value. They have no vitamins, no minerals, no fiber. They're just empty calories. And when you eat this stuff, it tremendously damages your body. And in terms of this guide, it makes your pee-pee smaller because these fried garbage foods, it's not even food, this chemical conjunctions they come up with now, they build up as plaque in your arteries, and they also increase your blood pressure. And when your blood pressure is increased, this sounds like the opposite, but when you have high blood pressure, it actually makes the blood in your body move slower, not faster like you want it. And of course, when your arteries get clogged, you have a higher risk of heart attack, but blood can't flow as well either to places like your pee-pee where you want it. And some of these foods are so toxic, they actually inflame your body. Same when someone like slapped your arm and it got red, it would get inflamed and red. They hurt your body from the inside. And when your body is inflamed and your blood vessels get inflamed, they shrink, they narrow, so less blood flows through them. And even after I learned all this and I wanted to improve my diet back then, I still tremendously struggled with it for 3 key reasons. Number one, it's very, very hard to get off all these sugary junk food that's like scientifically engineered at the perfect amount of like crispiness on the outside, softness on the inside, because we as humans, we like a crunch and soft, like that mixed together. They have the perfect amounts of sugar in them and all these like artificial sweeteners to make them taste incredible. So venturing off that, when you're been wired to eat it for the past few years or longer, it's incredibly difficult to do. Secondly, I just didn't like to cook, just wasting my time to make a food that doesn't even taste that good and I'll get bored of after a day or two. And then I have to like prep the food and like cut it and wash it and mince it, and add the seasoning and clean up all the pots and pans after. And then third, there's so much misinformation on food, like what actually is healthy. Even to this day, people still heavily debate diet. So what do? Do I follow the food pyramid I learned in school, which is like literally corporate lobbying? They just ran out of like bombs to drop on kids in Syria, so we better just abuse our kids at home now, because that was all garbage propaganda. Do I drink milk? Well, milk is healthy, right? But they're processing it and they're putting it in a plastic container. And what about the synthetic herbicides that have been sprayed on the grains the cows are eating and all this other stuff? Do I go plant-based? Do I go meat heavy? Like, I didn't know what to do. And these 3 things if you probably relate to these, make it so difficult to have a clean diet. But over the past 5 years, I experimented with different diets. I've taken DNA tests to see what is the optimal diet for me, tried out a bunch of different foods, see what's easy to make that also tastes good, that I can eat on a regular basis, that is actually clean and all this stuff, and what herbicides are sprayed on it. I've seen a tremendous change in my life. Everything from like random pimples I used to get over my body, to just my breath smelling bad, to having eye bags, to thin facial hair. Your life transforms when you get on a fantastic diet. And the best tip I can give you that you can implement right now for getting your diet way better is to simply eat whole foods you can point to and name. Potato, onion, carrot, steak, chicken breast. If a food is in any sort of plastic or airtight container, it probably is absolute garbage. For example, you could go buy a potato from the store, right? You just pick it up and it doesn't have an ingredients list because it's just potato. But if you go get a bag of potato, like frozen potato chips in the freezer aisle, it should just be potato as the ingredient, but it'll say like soybean oil, canola oil, red 40, non-monoxhydrate glucomia, BLM6, a bunch of then potato, then a bunch of random stuff in there. That probably is not healthy. And the healthiest foods that I eat on a daily basis that I believe you will like as well are grass-fed, grass-finished beef, pasture-raised eggs, which is like a higher quality type of egg. Also, raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries, and then potatoes. And I have certain ways of making these to make them as fast as possible and eat them as fast as possible. Like I, for example, just eat my eggs raw just to save time, crack it into a cup, swallow it whole, 5 seconds, that's a whole egg done. And I eat about 10 eggs per day at the moment. But for other things as well, with blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, nothing to peel, just pop them into your mouth. With potatoes, I will either just put them in the microwave and just bake them like that for about 3 minutes, and then put some like cheese and put some butter on it, or I will just mash them really quickly. That way I can eat it very fast and they can stay in the fridge for a few days. And then if my mom's like cooking some desi food at home, I've like told her like, hey, like get the grass-fed, grass-finished butter to put on there. Make sure not use like soybean or all this garbage oils, use like olive oil. And similar to that, if they make a dish, I'll try to eat a healthier version of it. So I'll eat it with roti, which is basically like whole grains, instead of with like naan, which is just white flour. And then once you're full with healthy food, you maybe finish it off with a bit of fruit instead of like candy or ice cream or any of that garbage. It makes it so much less tempting to eat other food, because once you're full with a whole food, you're full like right away. Whereas if you eat like fried foods, it takes a gap for your stomach to tell your brain that it's full. So by eating whole foods, you'll be less tempted to eat other nasty garbage. And if you want a bigger pee-pee, you can't be like these villagers, just throw in a random bag of chips in the lunchbox and stop at McDonald's on the way home and just like get random garbage from 7-Eleven. You do have to be a bit more deliberate with your diet. But the cool thing is, once you've found a meal that you really like, that is actually healthy, and you eat it every single day, you've knocked off a big percentage of your diet. So me, I like eating the same foods every day just to save time and make it like a habit, and it becomes a lot faster and you saves you money too. So if I were to eat 5 eggs every single morning for breakfast, I just swallow them whole. But let's say, for example, you're gonna eat eggs boiling them. You just throw them in to boil, go do some work, come back down in like 20 minutes, you take them out, peel them, eat them. Once you have one solid meal you eat every day, that's 25% of your diet at 100%. Quarter of your diet is already perfect just like that. And if you add one more meal, 2 meals that you eat every day, maybe you'll swap out a few ingredients here or there, but you can make them fast, you enjoy eating them. Half of your diet, 50%, is perfect. And as you add more of these meals you personally like, they're fast to make, they work for you completely, more your diet keeps getting perfected with time. Also, one last point to mention here, when you eat garbage food, you don't get normal fat. So normal fat is called subcutaneous fat, and it's basically just the fat under your skin. But when you eat garbage food, you gain more visceral fat, which is the fat in between your organs and in your pelvic area. And this pushes the skin around your pee-pee forward and forward and forward. Your pee-pee is not like your finger, like it's a muscle, and those muscles stretch deep into your body. So if you feel right now around your pee-pee, the muscle there extends about 3 inches into your body. But if you have a bunch of fat, visceral fat from eating garbage food, it keeps getting smaller because the skin around your pee-pee keeps getting pushed outwards, making your pee-pee look smaller with time. And then visceral fat especially is known to crush the blood vessels in that area and also inflame your body more heavily. So if you want a bigger pee-pee, you have to try to make it a habit to eat healthier, and you do that by simply eating whole foods you can point to and name. Now, part B of section 2, get the right gas, is to avoid sugar like it's a pride parade in June. There's a company called Ben & Jerry's, which makes fantastic, this 10 out of 10 ice cream. Unfortunately, this company is super woke. Like, they are off the charts woke. On their website, they're openly anti-capitalism, pro giving back reparations, like return stolen land. Like, what even is stolen land? But return stolen land to Native American tribes. Which tribes? They don't say, of course. Before they lost all of their brain cells, Ben & Jerry's got in trouble because somebody found trace amounts of glyphosate in their ice cream. If you don't know, glyphosate is a synthetic herbicide. It's the most popular one we use in the United States. And this sounds quite bad, right? Like synthetic herbicide found in Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Likely what happened was farmers sprayed too much of it on some crops. Some cows ate those crops, and then that glyphosate was found in the cow's milk, which was used to make the ice cream, blah, blah, blah. So they were doing like PR control and damage control. But here's the funny thing. There's something called the LD50, which stands for lethal dose 50. It essentially refers to how much of a substance can you eat before half the people who consume it will die. The lower the LD50 is, the more dangerous the substance. You need less of it to consume to die. Now, if somebody was to die from the trace amounts of glyphosate they found in Ben & Jerry's ice cream, it would take them 30 million pints to die. But the sugar in the ice cream would kill them at 30. So I'm telling this story for 3 reasons. Number 1, don't eat more than 29 pints of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Number 2, however, just avoid Ben & Jerry's ice cream because this company is super woke. Go get dry eyes or something else, or just avoid ice cream. That stuff's not healthy for you. But number 3, realize that sugar is incredibly toxic for your body. And despite being so common in our modern world, you should make it a habit to heavily avoid it if you want a bigger pee-pee. So a few years ago, I was coming back from winter break in college. And in college, in my apartment, because it was on campus, I didn't have many snacks. I was poor in college. I didn't want to go on a bus and then get off campus just to go to a convenience store or a Safeway to get some snacks and then come back. We didn't have like Instacart and like these delivery services back then. I just didn't snack a lot when I was in college, besides whatever was in the dining hall, which just was real food. So when I came back home to see a pantry stocked full of Chips Ahoy and Oreos and crisps and cookies and all this good stuff, I started to make it a habit to snack a little bit at the end of every single meal. And very quickly, I had bloating problems. My acne was spiking up again. I had constipation and a lot of trouble pooping. I felt lethargic and energy drained. So I made it a habit. You know what? Every time I come home from winter break, I feel terrible because of all these snacks. I'm going to quit sugar for 30 days. And I did. I didn't eat any sugar whatsoever besides natural stuff in fruits. I made it a habit to avoid stuff like tomato sauces, canned foods. Make it a habit to avoid peanuts. A lot of these companies spike sugar in absolutely everything. Yogurt, even this like healthy Greek yogurt stuff. But I tried my absolute best. I did a really good job. And 30 days turned into 90 days because I felt incredible at the end of those 30 days. And 90 days turned into an entire year because I felt incredible after 90 days. I didn't want to go back to feeling terrible eating all these sugary foods. And I told that story in a YouTube video on my old channel, which now has almost 5 million views. But after that 1-year challenge of not consuming so much sugar, I realized that this stuff isn't really food. It's on the same level as recreational drugs because sugar does a bunch of damage to your body. It's known to lead to heart disease, liver disease. It inflames your body, stroke, cancer, diabetes, and is more addicting than a lot of drugs out there. And I mention it here because sugar is known to block blood flow to your pee-pee to an insane, unimaginable amount. In that video I did with over 5 million views, I cited a study that mentioned that men who quit consuming so much sugar noticed they had much harder erections. And this is for 4 main reasons. 1, sugar is shown to actually inhibit the production of nitric oxide in your brain, that chemical messenger that tells your blood vessels, hey, let's relax and widen to let more blood flow in and fill up that spongy tissue in your pee-pee. It's also shown to accumulate in your arteries as plaque. On top of that, it increases inflammation to your body and increases blood pressure. Like, it is a stressor on your body. Now, I went cold turkey for 2 years. No added sugar and in anything. I couldn't eat pretty much anything in the grocery store that wasn't a whole food. And I made it a habit to only eat fruits that had a low sugar to mass index, because now they even breed fruits to be higher in sugar naturally. So I was only eating blackberries, blueberries, and raspberries. Now, going cold turkey is too extreme for most people. If you want to go for it, then fantastic. You probably have more discipline than most of the planet. But what I found with my friends who wanted to cut down on sugar, and this is in general just a good tip to cut out any bad habit, is to simply track it. And me just saying this right now, you're thinking, oh, I don't want to do this right now, I'm going to skip this part. And that's why. So for example, I did this very recently for a bad habit I picked up of eating out way too often. I made a notes app on my phone called Diet Failures, and I'd write down every single time for 21 days that I ate out. And this made me cut down on eating out. And over time, as those 21 days developed, I started doing it much less until the habit eventually died off. So if you want to cut down your sugar intake, I highly recommend you try out this method as well. It's a bit of a hassle, but that's why you actually should do it. So you won't want to do it to have the hassle of writing it down. Call it sugar failures. And anytime you find yourself eating a sugary food, beverage, etc., just write down the date and time, and you'll find very quickly after 21 days, this habit will be cut out. Now on to part C of section 3, get the right gas. Don't degenerate. So back in 2019, I was at a party with my girlfriend, and this was a college frat party, and this was the first party I'd ever gone to with like a girlfriend with me. Usually in the past, I was a single guy, and I've tended to like talk to guys like, yo, what's up, bro? It's good to meet you. We should link up sometime. But like secretly, I'm just like eyeing the girls the corner of my eye, like, oh, who should I talk to? Would that girl like me? And how should I go and ask her to dance and all this stuff in my head? But now that I was with a girlfriend, I didn't feel any pressure to talk to other girls. So I'm kind of holding her, half just relaxing, half dancing in the corner of the room. And now that I wasn't so focused on getting girls, I started to realize how degenerate of an environment that party environment actually was. There were two girls just passed out, cold drunk on the couch, like face in the air, legs up. There was some guy just throwing up in the corner of the room. There was some other guy like half passed out, laying down, like about to fall over on the side. There was a long line outside the bathroom, probably two people smashing in there, that's why. There was two guys up to break out into a fight. Everyone's trying to like go rush up to the counter like an animal and just get more drinks and stuff. Some guys arguing with the bartender who cut him off. There were a group of white kids doing cocaine on a glass table in the corner. It made me feel sick to my stomach. Is this the people I want to hang out around? Is this what I want to be remembered by? Is this the environment I want to be in? No. So I took my girlfriend, I left, we went back to her place, and I just felt sick to my stomach. I even just showered, even though I didn't bring a second set of clothes. I just didn't want to, I want to get that grossness of that party off of me as fast as possible. The reality is smoking, vaping, alcohol, pretty much any drug will give you a smaller PP because it will block blood circulation inside of your body. For example, both smoking and vaping contain nicotine, which is shown to build up as plaque in your arteries and also does increase blood pressure, so that's less blood circulation happening. Smoking also reduces the oxygen in your blood, which heavily damages blood vessels, and there's dozens and dozens of studies linking smoking to erectile dysfunction and other PP-related problems. Vaping is newer, so there's nothing long-term on it, but probably has adverse health effects. So I've never vaped, and I've definitely never smoked because I've never been that stupid in my entire life. I remember a few years ago, my mom was like very teary-eyed. She came to me and said that our uncle, who was very near and dear to my heart, I genuinely love this guy. He looked after me so much when I was a kid, made the best foods for me, but he had developed either heart or lung cancer. And she told me that you call him, give him my condolences, say it's all going to be all right, and we're here to help you and all this stuff. And I just said no. Like, I'm not going to call and say I'm sorry this happened to you because you deserve it. You chose to smoke half a pack or a pack of cigarettes every single day for the past 15, 18 years. And if you now get lung cancer, heart cancer, you're financially bankrupt, you can't get your PP to work in your bedroom with your wife, that is your fault and nobody else's, because in life, you get what you deserve. I love the guy, and it was hard to hear that, but I can't call and say I'm sorry for you. That's the results of the action you took. And I hope all those pack of cigarettes were worth it. Probably wasn't. But now it's time to face the music. Alcohol does similar damage to your PP. It's been shown to narrow arteries. It's been shown to damage the nerves in your PP. High blood pressure, and it's been shown to adversely affect testosterone, which is very important for maintaining erections. I've also never had alcohol because your body is worth hundreds of millions of dollars and it's priceless to you. So why would you go about destroying it? Imagine some guy, he says, hey, I really like the feeling of just hitting myself with a hammer really hard. It feels so great, man. You should try it too. Like, we would look at the guy like he's a moron, but we don't look at that at people who do alcohol or drugs, etc. I never needed to be like convinced in high school or in middle school with those videos they showed of like, hey guys, don't do drugs, you'll end up really terrible. It just seemed like a very common sense thing. Without your health, you have nothing else. There's nothing more valuable on this planet, so you should protect the asset. But that wraps up section 3, get the right gas. To quickly summarize, eat whole foods you can point to and name, and once you find a meal that works for you, you can eat every single day. That's 25% of your diet, completely perfect. Then with the next meal, 50%, and so on and so on. So play around and find that stuff that works well with you. Avoid sugar like it's a pride parade in June. And lastly, just avoid degenerate activities that do detrimental damage to your body, because all this stuff, you're gonna make your pee-pee much smaller. So get the right gas. Now onto section 4, kill the ninjas, aka mitigate stress. Part A, remove heavy lifestyle stressors. So a couple years back, I matched with a girl who went to UC Berkeley, and we agreed to meet up for a date at a pizza place. When I met her, I had to make sure this girl was normal, because obviously everybody knows that UC Berkeley has the highest percentage of mentally ill girls than any other UC, than probably any other college in the entire state. But this girl was one of the rare ones. She was a normal girl. We had a quick bite, chatted up a little bit. We went stargazing for about 20-30 minutes, and then we just ended up doing the deed in my car at an empty foresty street. And it was going fine, except for the fact that I'm 6'2" and in the back of an SUV, it's like playing a game of Twisters. However, the problem was halfway through, cars kept passing by, and I became very aware of them. And I would play this like fantasy scenario in my head of, what if they're robbers, they want to break into our car and steal our stuff? And what if it's the cops and I get in legal trouble? What if? And this thought kept penetrating my brain, stressing me out to where my pee-pee just died, and it was like super awkward. And I ended up like playing it off and just cuddling for a bit, took her back to her place, and never saw that girl again. I messaged her and she just ghosted me. As we mentioned in section 1, in terms of getting comfortable, any type of stress will put your body in a fight or flight response. It'll spike itself full of cortisol, adrenaline, aka epinephrine, and that will cause your muscles to tighten, excluding the muscles in your pelvic area, blocking blood flow to your pee-pee, and your body will move blood flow to different areas, not places like your pee-pee. So if you are even 10%, 20% stressed out when you're with a girl, that will result in a much smaller erection and you thinking you have a smaller pee-pee. So you want to be relaxed when you're with a girl. The sad reality is, though, most guys just live in stress. They are stressed out 24/7. They've been that way for the past decade. They've forgotten what actually being relaxed feels like. Most guys are just glued to their phones, watching hyper-stimulating, over-sexualized TikToks all day. They can't eat food without watching something. They will like sit there for 10 minutes finding something to watch before they actually put something on they can watch while just eating their food. And by now their food's actually cold, but whatever. They can't work out without having some loud music pumping in their ears. They can't like drive anywhere or just sit on a subway or do anything without some sort of entertainment happening for them. And because of this, they're constantly hyper fixated, overthinking, overanalyzing, and the real world to them seems so incredibly boring. It's like banging their head on a wall, and they wonder why they're constantly stressed out with smaller pee-pees. Like, most people are mentally fat. They are so stressed out because they watch hyper-stimulating, over-sexualized content for 12 hours a day. They wonder why they can't focus, concentrate, why they have a permanent like eyebrow crease up here, or they're always stressed out and agitated, and they always need to be on something to maintain a normal baseline. And it's a sad reality to live. But if you want a bigger pee-pee, you have to become a master of being relaxed and calm in any situation. You need to be Mr. Miyagi. You need to be the last guy on our team who's alive in a game of search and destroy in Call of Duty, who's effortlessly going to kill the entire enemy team and defuse the bomb, because stress will not help you in that situation. So even when we're all screaming at you to do this and do that, you need to maintain a clear head and stay focused on the mission. I would go so far as to mention that having a high stress tolerance is one of the best traits you can have to be ultra successful in our modern world. So how do we cultivate this skill? How do we become relaxed and not stressed out because of our lifestyle? We covered it specifically with spending time with the girl in section 1. And when I was first getting on self-transformation, everyone was talking about breath work and meditation and journaling and all these practices you can do. And fair enough, there is a ton of value in them. I would recommend them to you. But for majority of guys, they already have 2 other stressors that are eating at their soul. And if we can knock those out, 90% of their stress will already be eliminated. Because that was definitely the case with me. And the first way to do that is to transform your sleep routine. Last year, I read the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. And in the book, he covered this question, like, why do we actually sleep? And he opens the book by saying that when we're sleeping, we're not gathering resources, we're not reproducing, we are very, very prone to being completely murked by some animal or an enemy tribe. So why does evolution decide that we needed to sleep? Like, why would it force us to sleep, but it could clearly damage us? And it's simply because as an animal, we are more efficient in the time that we are awake than we would be if we were awake 24/7 and not sleeping. This is why every single animal on the planet sleeps, unless they live such a short life where they die before they sleep. Evolution has designed us to sleep. In this like modern world, Gary V hustle culture, if you seriously think you will get more long-term success following that advice than evolution, which has put you on this planet, you'd be very mistaken. And while I read this book, I learned 3 things related to this video. Firstly, sleep controls your stress hormones. If you don't get enough sleep, these hormones permanently stay elevated during the entire day while you're awake, leaving you in a perpetual state of stress, which is blocking off blood flow to your PP. Number 2, similar to number 1, sleep controls your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. If you're not getting enough sleep, your body thinks we're running away from some enemy tribe or for some danger. We need to be in an elevated state of being ready to run or being ready to fight, and therefore let's not put blood in places like our PP, and let's keep the muscles in that area tight. And thirdly, when you sleep, your body is repairing itself, and specifically it's controlling and reducing the inflammation inside of your body. So if you don't sleep enough, your body will stay inflamed, which will narrow your blood vessels and will build up plaque inside of them. And as I read this book and did the obvious thing of just transform my sleep for the better, sleeping for more hours, so I now sleep for 9.5 hours per night, and getting deeper, higher quality rested sleep, preparing my body for sleep the hour before bed, controlling lighting, temperature, breathing, positioning, air quality. I dove in deep on this subject of sleep. I saw every single aspect of my life improve. Every aspect without fail. Everything from hitting more PRs. Like every time I went to the gym, I was hitting a PR. Like I was going through my like newbie gains phase. On top of that, I was having way more energy and productivity throughout the day. I remember during this time, I wanted to become a full-time software engineer. I was an intern at the time, and we counted the amount of work we did in points. So we were trying to assign 5 points per person for the work week. And I was knocking from 5 to 7 to 8 to 9 points per work week, which ended up getting me a full-time job as a software engineer. So many guys are on self-transformation and they think about adding electrolytes to their water, or should I add breath work or journaling to my routine? Like, that stuff has value, although electrolytes are drastically overhyped in my opinion. Sleep is a big 3. You should be spending the majority of your time thinking, how do I improve my sleep? Not what things do I add to my routine if you want a 10x your life. Most guys have never even thought about improving their sleep. They just sleep when they're tired, which is basically never, because they just play video games super late into the night, so they're not actually tired, and they wonder why they're depressed. They go to some bimbo therapist who gives them pills to pop like they're Lozan. We are not like these morons. We know that if you even get a 1% improvement in your day through sleep, that will compound with time. And if that version of you didn't get that improvement over the years, this will transform, because you know how crazy exponential growth is. I've made full guides on this subject, but the 2 quick tips I'll give you here is number 1, just set a consistent bedtime and wake up time. This simple step will do the biggest for improving your sleep. So set it reasonable right now. If you normally sleep for 7 hours a night, just set it for 7.5 and try your best to stick with it. Then over time, just keep adding half an hour until you find that point where you're just oversleeping, and then cut it at that point. That way you've maxed out the amount of sleep your body needs. And of course, this will vary depending on how athletic you are, how much time you spend training, how much recovery you need, and what your lifestyle looks like. But simply setting that bedtime and wake up time and expanding it to find that perfect amount will do the most to improve your sleep over anything else. And secondly is to control your light, because of all the cues your body takes in, sound, temperature, light is by far the biggest. So if you do 3 things of making your room gradually darker and darker and darker as the evening goes on, you make it a habit to make sure your room is just pitch dark, no lights whatsoever while you sleep, and you make it a habit to gradually wake up to bright light, you will wake up like a king. There's multiple ways to do this. You can either just turn lights off as the night goes on. You can buy dimmable adjustable bulbs, which I highly recommend. I use Philips Hues. You can get blackout curtains, blackout blinds, just cut out a big piece of cardboard and pop it into your window before you go to bed. You can also, again, buy a Philips Hue. You can buy the Philips adjustable bulbs, or you can get a sunrise alarm clock to gradually gradually wake up with lights. All those things are highly recommended by me. An investment in your health will pay dividends for decades in the future. The sleep tech I use is linked in the description in the kits below. Again, nothing sponsored. But the second biggest thing you can do to reduce your stress is to heavily regulate screen time and social media. A few years back, I was at a religious event, some fundraiser, and I did not want to be there. I was super bored, didn't know anybody, wasn't really into this whole thing. So I was just like on my phone after we finished eating, swiping on social media, and I realized I can't be on here. Like every fifth post is a thirst trap. And here I am at the masjid. Like I can't taint the family name, right? As far as everyone else is concerned, I'm a good Muslim and I want to keep it that way. Otherwise, I won't get an arranged marriage. Then some kid walks up like behind me, like, what are you looking at? So I just turn my phone off like, oh, nothing, get out of here, kid. I don't have any games for you. But later that week, I was thinking about that kid, like just being super annoying. Who just sneaks up behind a person? Like give me some privacy. But I realized, what was I looking at? Like some dumb thirst trap? What did I see on Instagram yesterday or last week or last month? What, a bunch of half-naked girls that look hot with some like dumb caption? Was it some short dopamine burst? I haven't actually gained any real value from it. And the thing is, although this isn't a good thing to say, most average guys, most losers are on social media. So if I want to be exceptional, am I doing what they're doing, which is wasting the life away on these apps? So after that experience, I decided to do absolutely nothing and continue in my same old ways of just wasting time on social media. But a few years later, around 2019, 2020, 2021, it became abundantly clear just how addictive social media was. Nobody could dispute that anymore. The algorithms gotten very, very good. There was the For You page, there was the infinite scroll, there was like the unlimited like news social content on like the right side of Snapchat. A lot of stuff was out there, and I decided that I needed to seriously cut out social media because it was eating up hours of my day. Even with like the screen time I could see and me trying to cut down on it, it still came out to just way too much. So I made the simple move to just delete these apps off my phone and keep them on my computer, because I use my computer much less than my phone. And just by making that switch, I felt happier, more energetic. I was more alert, productive. I felt so much less drained out. My eyes felt like I was seeing in 4K Ultra UHD. Like it was incredible. But best of all, the real world just seems so beautiful. This is a bit hard to describe if you've never done like a social media detox, but it's as if I look at the world and somebody just turned up the vibrance and saturation. Everything, like the way the light hits the green trees, the way the glow of the street light comes out, the way the dirt road with its different shades of gray and blue and these little marks on it. The real world became so immensely beautiful to where now I don't even need music to work out, because just looking around, there's just so many interesting things that I don't need stimulation to keep me entertained. And nowadays I use social media for less than 10 minutes per day, and that's as a producer, not a consumer. I only follow, go on my Instagram, I only follow other content creators, see what they're posting about, so you know what I should make little shorts about as well. And then additionally, I only listen to audiobooks, podcasts, and very, very rarely like informational videos on YouTube, because the knowledge is in the books and not in videos. And making that switch has been such a tremendous game changer for skyrocketing my own success. And I'm excited to see where I end up in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years compared to the average guy. I know it's not good to compare, but this gap will continue to widen just from this one habit of not using social media so much. And on top of that, I get a bigger pee-pee because I'm less stressed out. But those are the big two for decimating stress in your lifestyle, assuming you of course already exercise, because that is the biggest. Once you transform your sleep and you heavily limit social media usage, you are so different from every other guy who lives in a perpetual state of stress where they have a small pee-pee. So if you don't want to be like them, I highly recommend you try giving this stuff a shot. All right, part B of section 2, Kill the Ninjas, is stop making the bald man cry. So back my freshman year of university, my first day at university, I was with all of the other freshmen in the auditorium in my college. I had 10 colleges in my university, so I was with about 300 other students, and I felt incredibly nervous and out of place. Everywhere I looked, I saw these like Asian kids with their sharp hair and their strong jawline and their thick glasses, and I felt out of place because I had done so poorly in high school, and now I was a computer science major in college, one of the hardest majors out there. Did I belong here? What if I failed my classes and then then I got suspended or expelled, or I got made fun of because I was so stupid, I had to drop out, and then my family would look at me in shame, and then I wouldn't get an arranged marriage because what girl would marry a guy who doesn't have a college degree, and I was poor, and then my mom would be poor too, and like all of these thoughts were in my head. Like, what if I put shame on my family's name for 10 generations, and I'm the last of my name because nobody ever marries me? But the stress did kind of mitigate as school started, and I had a very strong focus on doing well so I wouldn't fail, and I was seeing a lot of kids drop out around me, but I kept my head above the water, doing quite well actually. But the stress drastically skyrocketed again before finals, because now I was like, this is the game. 40 to 70% of your grade comes from the final. Everything else is basically irrelevant, and if you fail the final, even if you would have passed the class, you would fail the class. Colleges were pretty adamant on that, especially as a computer science student. Like, there was hard cutoffs. And because I was so stressed out around this time, I couldn't even work. I would just go to jerk off, get a few seconds of pleasure, and get like half an hour of kind of focus, and just jerk off again. I was doing it 7 or 8 times a day because of how stressed out I was around this time leading up to finals. And I remember one time I was doing the deed like really hard, trying to get myself to like come, and some guy next to me just took a massive dump because we had a shared bathroom. And I looked down, and I'm trying to force my pee-pee to work, and it just some cum came out of it, and it was only 50%. It was half flaccid, and I'm still beating the thing. And I wonder why I had so many ED problems. If you want a bigger pee-pee, you do have to get on NoFap. Now, I know the NoFap community is like very weird. They're very like obsessive about their streaks and stuff. And on day 50, you can levitate. And on day 65, your dad will come back into your life. We didn't come back into my life. Maybe he'll come back into yours. But they are right about 2 things. And the first one is elasticity. When you start doing the deed a few times every day, or maybe multiple times every week, you start to get less stretch in your pee-pee, because for you to be able to come, your pee-pee now has to be not 100%, but 98%, 95%, 87%, 75% fully erect for you to be able to use it in your own hand. You gotta know like those right angles to use and the right like finger technique and all this stuff to make yourself relaxed for a short period of time. But the problem is, when your pee-pee is not fully erect, there starts to become chronically low levels of oxygen in that tissue, which just means that the tissue becomes less stretchy, and it has a less chance of becoming like fully stretchy in the future. And then therefore your permanent pee-pee size starts to get capped at 97, 96, 92, 93%. It keeps getting smaller and smaller. And because you're jerking off so often, you also don't get morning wood at 100% either, which speeds up this process. You need your pee-pee to be very stretchy if you want to fill it up with as much blood as possible. If it's not stretchy, it won't be able to expand that much. And the second thing to write about is getting desensitized. When you first watch adult content, the first ever like adult content video I watched where I like made the bald man cry, it was to a video of Sarah J and Ava Devine, who were basically like playing cops, and like the criminals ended up like tying them up, and maybe you've seen the video. But the first time I did it, I didn't have like a wood erection. I had a steel erection. It was like a pillar. I remember like the cum, I would have like touched the ceiling. Like, it was wild. But now, fast forward a few years of doing it chronically, I needed to watch like 8 guys and 20 octopus just beating down on a girl like a UFC fight to even get my pee-pee to 50% erect, because it just becomes desensitized with time because of how often you do this habit. So what do you think will happen when you're with like a real normal girl, like a normie girl? Like, her body won't stimulate you as much as all this hyper sexualized content you watch, where they have the perfect angles and positioning, and they know, like, they measure EMG activity of people's brains to see what is the most stimulating angles and everything in this content to know what will get you aroused. And these storylines too. When you don't have that, your pee-pee will be what, 95%? Probably not. Probably like 70%, 65%, 61% erect around a girl. You want a full erection. And when I stopped watching adult content and then I stopped jerking off completely, I noticed my pee-pee getting very massive in a short amount of time. I didn't realize how much my pee-pee had shrunk from me just doing this habit so many times. Right now, when I get a full erection, to now where when I get an erection, it's over an inch longer than when I was jerking off in the past. And trust me right now, any self-improvement guru, any guy on the internet who tells you it's okay and normal to jerk off as a guy is a pathetic loser. No guy will ever feel any sort of pride if they finish jerking off on the toilet, hoping that nobody noticed. There's a sense of shame and guilt associated with it for a reason, because it's not any of this cultural shame and sex negative talk. It's simply because you as a guy should be penetrating a girl, but instead you're sitting on the toilet at your mom's house with a phone in one hand and wonder why you feel like a piece of crap. And if anyone does object with me, that's fine. Just tell me right now how often you do it, where you do it in your house, what do you watch, give me all the details. But nobody will ever tell you this, or they'll just say, oh yeah, it's just normal, it's natural. Because when you go into details about it in your personal life, you feel that shame and guilt come out. And I don't mean to be yelling at you, but it just really upsets me that I listened to all this garbage advice in the past and use it as justification to why I should keep doing it, even though I had so many performance ED problems when I was jerking off and watching porn. And when I quit that stuff, a ton of them disappeared. And I know it is hard to fix this habit. When I first got on NoFap, I struggled to get to 1 day, then 3 days, then 5 days, and especially 2 weeks was so difficult for me. And I spent years of my life to build up this level of discipline to where I recently hit like 90 days of semen retention a while back. And of course, I'll share with you some tricks and tactics I learned and some mindsets to actually fast track this process with you in a different video. Stay tuned for that one. But I'm not an angel, and neither are all the other guys you see who have had like insane NoFap success and put this behind them. We're just regular guys like you. There's nothing special about this. If we can do it, so can you. But that wraps up section 4 of Kill the Ninjas, aka mitigate stress. To quickly summarize, remove lifestyle stressors, which for the majority of young guys out there, the two biggest ones will be lack of high quality deep sleep and just spending way too much time on social media and watching this hyper stimulated content online. The other thing you want to do is quit making the bald man cry, because that also causes a bunch of problems related to blood flow to your PP and some desensitization that we covered, as well as elasticity. If you want a notably bigger PP, cut these and you'll see it almost immediately. Now let's jump to section 5, tiny tweaks, aka smaller tips, hormone regulation stuff, and supplements you can use to get a bigger PP. Part A, vitamin D. So I was telling you earlier that around a year ago, Andrew Huberman was popping off on YouTube, and his claim to fame was to go outside and look at the sun, because the neurons in the sun's rays, once they hit your eyes, are an incredible stimulus for wakefulness and improve your mood, your energy levels, your alertness, your sleep, all that good stuff. So when I was going outside for my morning walks, I started to learn about the importance of vitamin D. I was pretty shocked to learn when I looked into this that 50% of all US adults are vitamin D deficient, and that's based on a range that's already super far skewed to the left, because as a population, we're also vitamin D deficient. They keep changing what the normal is, so it's not like 99% of people are outside of that normal range. So when I found out about this, I ended up getting a vitamin D blood test done as part of a whole blood test panel to see, am I actually deficient in it, and what do I need to supplement with? And by using that, I was able to find the right dosage for me specifically, which is about 5,000 IU. This will depend heavily for you based on how dark your skin color is, your lifestyle, how bright it is in your environment, etc. But here's the cool thing your doctor won't tell you. Vitamin D doesn't just regulate your mood, your immune system, and your bone density. It also regulates the amount of blood flow going through your body. This is because vitamin D affects a molecule that determines how flexible your blood vessels are. It also reduces inflammation in your body, and it regulates blood pressure. So if you want a bigger PP, I would highly recommend you make it a note that this weekend or the next weekend, you go and get a vitamin D blood test done. Probably around a dozen places near you that offer this. Just search up blood lab near me. It'll cost about $50. You go in, give them your ID, get your blood drawn, and in 5 to 6 business days, they'll send you an email giving you your blood test results. Then using that, you now have an idea of what IO of vitamin D to supplement with. Find that IO on Amazon and buy the right dosage. Then check again in a couple months or after a year to make sure your dosage is actually adequate for you. Of course, you might not need to supplement, but the reality is most people will. Regardless, it's still worth getting that vitamin D blood test done, because again, any investment in your health will pay dividends in the future. Now jumping to part B of section 5, tiny tweaks. Hydrate. You need to have a good amount of water in you, and you need to drink plenty of water if you want to ensure you are maximizing your PP size. Now you're probably thinking, oh no, there's no way Ali's talking to me, so I guess the middle schooler watching this video, I obviously don't drink enough water. Realize 75% of Americans are dehydrated on a regular basis, and the most common cause of hospital admission is dehydration. So realize you may not be drinking enough water, especially if you eat a bunch of sodium-filled food like McDonald's garbage, you drink caffeine, you drink alcohol, you drink juices throughout the day that are just full of sugar and not real water. And by not having enough water, you actually make your blood thicker, since the blood plasma has less fluid in it, and since your blood is thicker, can't move around your body as much. Additionally, every organ in your body needs water to function. And if you don't have pee with a slightly clear tint to it, then chances are you are not drinking enough water. Now, the good news is there's 2 easy tips you can implement to start drinking way more water that I've incorporated into my life. And the first one is simply buy a much bigger water bottle. I upgraded from a quarter gallon to a half gallon, a big 64 ouncer, and I carry this with me pretty much every single place I go. And by having a heavy jug full of water, it encourages you to drink even more water so it becomes less heavy, and you now have a rough idea of how many gallons of water you actually drink per day. And the second thing you can do to drink more water is to add a pinch of salt to your water. If you put it in a big jar of water, you can't really taste the salt, but as you drink it, it makes you thirstier, which makes you drink more water and more water. And fun fact, the reason why I first upgraded my water bottle to a bigger one is when I was trying out electrolytes in it, the salt was making me so thirsty, I finished the bottle way too fast. So try giving these 2 a shot. The water bottle I have, which you can buy on Amazon, the half-gallon glass one, really nice water bottle, is linked in the description in my kits. Now, part C of section 5 tiny tweaks is strengthen your pelvic floor muscles. So back when I had like performance ED problems in the bedroom, I would look up online how to fix this. And everywhere I went, everyone would nonstop talk about Kegels, Kegels, Kegels. If you don't know, Kegels are a type of exercise you do to strengthen your pelvic floor muscles. And thee are the muscles that are around your PP area, and you use them for a multitude of reasons: holding in a fart, pooping, contracting your anus, getting your PP to bop up and down. To quickly show you what they are, imagine right now you are peeing and you wanted to stop peeing. Squeeze that muscle right there. That's your pelvic floor muscle. Now imagine you had to fart and you were holding in a fart in. Hold a fart in right now. That's your pelvic floor muscle. Now imagine you want to just bop your PP up. Try it. That's your pelvic floor muscles. These are the muscles that basically sit under your bladder and your liver and all this stuff, and they are essential for maintaining a strong, powerful erection. And if we build them up, that actually will give you a bigger PP, because it'll help maximize blood flow to it and make your erection way stronger. Now, there are other reasons to these as well. Women use it to tighten their tunnel. Guys who have a problem with premature ejaculation, just coming way too early when they're with a girl, they do it to have better control of their PPs. But the best advice that I've implemented in terms of doing Kegels was simply do 40 Kegels every single night. So 1 Kegel is when you just contract and release. Contract and release. So do 40 one night, then the next night add 5. So 45, 50, 55, 60, until you get to 200. Once you get to 200, then start back at 40, but do a 3-second Kegel hold. So 1, 2, 3, relax. 1, 2, 3, 2, relax. And keep going. And then once you get to 200 by adding 5 every single night, then you do a 5-second hold. And over time, as you strengthen these muscles, you will have much better control of your PP. It'll lead to much less performance ED problems, and you will get a bigger PP by having way more blood flow. Now, because I'm so good with Kegels, I can literally just stroke my PP and get an erection like faster than these companies can throw up pride banners on the 1st of June. All right, now jumping to part D of section 5, tiny tweaks, supplementation. There was a time in my life when I took way too many supplements. I thought by taking more, I would somehow turn to Spider-Man or the Hulk, and with the one missing supplement, they would be the perfect chemical conjunction where I would just somehow get massive and jack all these bodybuilders. So I was taking creatine, pre-workout, whey protein, and 6 or 7 other supplements at one point. Just random stuff that I heard good things about, never actually researched or fact checked. And during this time, I was watching a video from Alpha M, who was at one point a competitive bodybuilder, talking about the top 10 supplements he took. And of course, the video was sponsored by bodybuilding.com. And in the video, he mentioned that he used to take L-arginine and L-citrulline. And the reason why he took them, so many bodybuilders do, is because it increases nitric oxide production, that chemical messenger that tells your your blood vessels, hey, let's relax and widen. And as a bodybuilder, if your blood vessels get that message, when you get a pump while lifting weights, your pumps are way more massive. And they also claim that by taking the supplement, they also increases oxygen and blood flow to your muscles, so you get fatigued less. There's not too much science to back that up, but it does give you a bigger pump. And a few years down the road, when I was having some performance ED problems, I remember somebody mentioning you can take supplements like L-arginine and L-citrulline. Now, I remember how Alpha M mentioned these supplements all that time back. So I ordered them, I took them, and sure enough, they do increase blood flow. I did notice harder and firmer and bigger erection. Then I also read back then that adult content stars take these the night before and the morning of a shoot for the exact same reason. That being said, I don't recommend that you take them, and I stopped taking them a very long time ago. I didn't like the idea of having to rely on a supplement or take a shortcut in life, and once I started doing everything else on this list to maximize blood flow to my PP, I didn't see a reason to be popping them every single day. And I thought about taking them, okay, the night before or the morning of when I see a girl, but that to me also seemed foolish, to just be whipping them out like I'm Inspector Gadget, like, okay, now I have to take this pill before I see a girl. I want to just rely on my own body and nothing else. So recommend that if you do decide to take these, don't see them as a shortcut or a quick solution to give you a temporarily bigger PP. Hit everything else on this list hard and you will permanently have a notably bigger PP. All right, now jumping to part E of section 5, tiny tweaks: maximize puberty development and increase testosterone. So when I was a kid, I absolutely loved eating candy. Like, what kid doesn't? But one day, I'm sitting on the dining room table doing my Kumon packet. I see my mom walk into the kitchen, open the pantry, go to the candy little jar thing at the very top, look through some of the candy, and throw pretty much all of it in the garbage. And immediately I was all mad and flustered. What are you doing? This isn't fair, Mom. What are you doing? And I was just spazzing out as a kid. But she told me that my aunt had seen a WhatsApp post or something, or some sort of shared message, I don't know if WhatsApp was around back then, that basically said we can't eat anything that has red 40 in it because red 40 is made from beetles, and insects are haram in our religion. They're not permissible, they're forbidden. And even as a kid, I knew for a fact if that aunt had said it, there was a good chance it was just some propaganda. Somebody was spreading some fake message with some random Quran verse on it, and she's just so gullible she would believe it. So I was pretty upset as a kid because already we couldn't eat a lot of candy. Any candy that contained gelatin we couldn't eat because a lot of that gelatin comes from pig fat, and unless it comes from beef fat, we can't eat it. We can't eat pigs in our religion. So that pretty much cut out the majority of candy for me, not having red 40 in it and not having gelatin in it. However, when I later fact checked this a few years in the future, it turns out my aunt was right. Red 40 is made from a bug, specifically a cochiel bug for some reason, but I was still always upset with her and my mom for just not letting me eat a lot of candy. That was until last year. I became very thankful to them last year because last year I was very interested in environmental toxins, maximizing testosterone, chemical hormonal disruptors, and things of that nature. And I learned that red 40 is estrogenic. So I was reading a book called Estrogeneration, one of the best books I've ever read, which talks about why people nowadays are becoming fat, sick, and infertile. In the book, I mentioned how food dyes like red 3, red 40, yellow 5 are essentially hormone disruptors. They contain chemicals inside of them that when ingested inside of your body, they mimic the hormone estrogen. Now, you know, okay, testosterone is primarily male sex hormone, estrogen is primarily female sex hormone. Both are important, but, you know, we as men want more testosterone. The problem is when you have all this synthetic estrogen mimicking chemicals inside of your body, it throws your entire body out of whack. It skyrockets your risk of low testosterone, immune system dysfunction, cancer, obesity, including gynecomastia, infertility, depression, which are all things that we see so commonly in society now. It's only a matter of time to start making shirts with like extra pocket in them for like male boob. And that's because food dyes are only one estrogenic substance in our modern world. There's also pesticides, there's herbicides, there's birth control hormones in our water. You have things that are added to our fragrances, our grooming products, or cosmetic products to make them last longer. Plastic as well is estrogenic. A lot of things to cover. But I bring this up for two reasons. One, if you're in puberty, you have a bunch of estrogen mimicking garbage inside of your body that is canceling out essentially your testosterone, it will affect the development of your PP. You want to not have any of that synthetic garbage inside of you and have a fully grown PP as long as it could as big as it could genetically be. So if you haven't finished puberty, which is around age 17 for boys, but it can vary a lot depending on just your genetics and your environmental lifestyle and all that good stuff. This is peak time to be maximizing your PP development. And if you remove all these estrogenic mimicking chemicals inside of you, you will get a bigger PP. And other cool facial features as well. You'll get thicker facial hair. You'll also have a better jawline, deeper voice, thicker Adam's apple, more muscle mass, etc. But secondly, if you've already passed puberty, you can still get all these benefits of not having depression, obesity, infertility, cancer, immune system dysfunction, etc. by removing estrogenics from your body, and you will get higher amounts of testosterone. And testosterone is critical for having a bigger PP because, one, it regulates nitric oxide production, but it also regulates libido and overall just sexual desire. Now, I'll cover estrogenics in detail in a future video. Stay tuned for that. You'll absolutely love it. But 3 quick tips I can give you right now to purge these from your body and also to stop consuming so much of them is, 1, only eat grass-fed beef and grass-fed dairy products. So companies want to obviously make profits, and it's a lot cheaper for a company who's selling you beef or butter or ghee or milk to simply keep the cows locked up in a barn, because they can then feed the cows a whole bunch of grains and not have to deal with them going out grazing and eating grass. Problem with this is grains are sprayed with nasty herbicides and pesticides like atrazine, which are estrogenic. Then additionally, grains are stored for months at a time in grain cellars, and inside those grain cellars, mold and fungi grow on these grains. And on that mold and fungi is a chemical called ZEA, Zerolone. And now when these cows go to eat these grains, they're getting that ZEA, they're getting those nasty herbicides and pesticides, and that gets passed on to you through the cow's dairy, milk, butter, ghee, etc., and then also through the beef on the cow. And fun fact, remember earlier I mentioned that estrogenics cause fat gain, obesity? Farmers used to, in the past, purposely feed cows the moldiest grains to get them to grow fatter. They did a study on English school children, like British kids, and they found that of the kids who drank milk, 100% of them had cow estrogen inside of their body. Imagine that. Being British. Disgusting. No, but having cow estrogen inside of your body. So the next time you go to the store and you're going to go buy beef, buy milk, buy dairy, whatever the case might be, get 100% grass-fed, also known as grass-fed, grass-finished. This is because companies now are very disingenuous. They'll say like grass-fed beef, but it's only like 25 or 30% grass-fed. The rest is all grains. You do not want to be consuming grains that have been... Ignore that garbage. Grass-fed is the way to go. Or you can also just not buy your meat at the store. I buy mine from a local farmer near me in LA. He just drives up with a freezer truck every 2 weeks. And I know the beef I'm getting with him is 100% grass-fed because there's nothing else. They literally feed them on the farm. I've checked myself. The next thing you can do is avoid soy and flaxseed. Both of these are phytoestrogens, meaning there are plants that have naturally occurring estrogen inside of them. Flaxseed has about 400,000 phytoestrogens per microgram. Soy has 100,000. Black beans and chickpeas both have less than 10. And black beans and chickpeas are considered on the higher end of the estrogenic spectrum. So soy and flax are way out here. And when you consume a concentrate of these, like soybean oil or some soy thing they put in a Starbucks latte, that has exponentially more estrogenics. Now you might be thinking, oh, I don't consume soy or flax, but do you? Do you ever check what's actually inside the protein bars you eat or the whey protein you have? You know, the companies might spike it with some soy concentrate to boost up the protein count cheaply. That's what happened to me. The protein powder I had, which had over 100,000 5-star reviews on Amazon, they added soy to it to cheaply increase the protein count. What about restaurants? What oil do you think McDonald's or KFC or even a mom and pop restaurant are cooking with? Soybean oil. And what filler do you think gets added into cookies and ice cream and other chips and like popcorn that's already pre-popped at the store? Soybean oil. Soybean oil is by far the most commonly used oil. And it's in everything as a cheap way to cook something, spike the protein count, and use as a filler. So soy is in way more places than you might be aware of. And try to be very conscious of what's going into your body. The protein powder that I use, if you're wondering, is linked in the description below in my kits. But remember, there's a reason why we call weak men soy boys. And thirdly, be very conscious of your grooming products. Any skin, body, teeth, hair stuff that you got at the store likely is full, especially if you bought it from Target or Walmart or Costco, of nasty, nasty toxins inside of it, including estrogenics. Things like phthalates used as stabilizers, parabens to extend the shelf life. They're all packaged in plastic, which when it's in a hot container will leach microplastics into the product. Like if you just take your shampoo or your deodorant and you just type the ingredients into ChatGPT and ask it, is this actually like safe? It'll tell you, no, it's not. A ton of these are linked to a whole bunch of problems. They're estrogenic, plus other stuff like organ failure, hair loss, etc. You don't want that stuff anywhere near you. It pains me that I spent years of my life just lathering myself with industrial garage cleaner that I bought at Target because it just smelled fruity and it had like some fruit logo on the bottle. So to make your life a lot easier and not spend 45 minutes talking about what things to look for and what not to look for, I'd recommend that you check out my completely free testosterone safe skincare routine in the description. And then also in my kits in the description, I have a completely free kit about my testosterone safe skin, body, teeth, hair grooming products. Testosterone safe is just a buzzword. They're testosterone safe, hormone safe, health safe, etc. Nothing is sponsored, but I do make affiliate commissions from anyone that purchases anything on Amazon from a certain amount of time once they click one of those links. I don't think any company would actually really want to sponsor me. But that wraps up Section 5, tiny tweaks. To quickly summarize, you want to get a vitamin D blood test done so you can supplement to ideal levels. Not necessary, but likely you will be deficient, as most people are, especially if you are darker skinned like I am. Additionally, make sure you hydrate properly by drinking plenty of water through having a bigger water bottle and putting a bit of salt in it if you need to. Try doing Kegels to strengthen your pelvic floor muscles, and you can also use supplementation to increase blood flow to your PP like L-citrulline and L-arginine. And lastly, make sure you stop ingesting so many estrogenics that lower your testosterone and make your PP smaller if you are a teen and in puberty by following the 3 tips that we just outlined. And that wraps up this section and this domino, the big domino of how to maximize blood flow to your PP. All right, so we're now jumping to domino number 2, give the illusion that your PP is bigger. Section 1, play twisters, aka use different positions in the bedroom. So back when I was very inexperienced in the bedroom and I was combing through social media, just garbage advice on how to actually improve and become good in the bedroom, I stumbled across a video on Instagram. And this was a bit rare because this was before short form content was a thing, before everyone's like attention spans went to 0 and people wrote their pronouns in their bio. And it was a video of a girl who was very attractive, who was showing some of her like personalities, and she was making a very like seductive face. And the caption read, "When he wears your ankles as earrings." Now, you probably know what this means, but I was very oblivious at the time. Like, what does this mean? Like, what is he trying to imply? It's very sexual, obviously, but I just couldn't figure it out. So I did some digging, and it turns out when you're in missionary, you can actually put the girl's legs on your shoulders so her ankles are by your ears and penetrate from that position. So I tried this out later on in life with a girlfriend, and I really liked this position. It felt way deeper, way more pleasure for me, and way more pleasure for her. And after that, I started thinking, what other positions, what other tweaks to them or positions have I never thought of could actually lead to me getting deeper inside my girl to have more pleasure for myself and her. Not actually thinking at the time of this would actually make my PP seem bigger to her. And after a bunch of trial and error that was awkward and some wasn't and some was weird and we laughed it off in a bunch of different positions, I'll just tell you the 4 things that I found that are actually very comfortable, I enjoyed, and you just might enjoy as well, that give the illusion that your PP is way bigger than it actually is. Firstly, what we just mentioned is just put her ankles on your shoulders when you're in missionary. Simple tweak you can make instead of having her ankles like by her side and your legs spread out. I quite enjoy this. Now, number 2 is simply put a pillow under her butt or under her hips, and you can fold the pillow over to get like double the room. And when you penetrate this way, it changes the angle of her tunnel and just seems to get in deeper inside of her. You can also combine this one with number 1 as well. Now, number 3, this position is called the seashell. And the best way to imagine it is imagine we're in position number 1. The girl's ankles are by your ears. You grab her ankles and you slowly move down to where your hands are right behind her kneecaps, and then you push them into her. So now you're essentially folding this girl in half. And depending on how flexible she is, some girls can fold more than others. You can also combine this with number 2 of putting a pillow under her butt or hips. And by now you being on top of her and her under you, like something like that, you just get in way deeper. And the 4th one is a version of doggy style called leapfrog, where essentially now instead of her arms being under her or in front of her, you force her arms to kind of be by her side, or you force her arms like behind her back, but you have to like hold her arms back with one hand, which is a bit uncomfortable. I just found telling her to put her arms by her side And now by doing this, all of her weight is on her chest and her butt is way up in the air. And this is actually much deeper than doggy style in my opinion. These four are what I found to be the most comfortable positions that you actually enjoy that give the illusion your PP is bigger. So try them out with your girlfriend, or for you, your boyfriend, and you just might get way more pleasure than you might have thought, and she will as well. All right, now jumping to section 2 of Domino 2, giving the illusion that it's bigger, ditch the dough, aka lose body fat and avoid crazy bulks in the gym. So there was a very famous professional Icelandic strongman named Hafthor, and this dude's like 6'9", 400 pounds of solid muscle. He's deadlifted 501 kg. Like, the dude's wild. He actually played the mountain in the Game of Thrones. And one day when I was scrolling through my YouTube shorts, I see a short that he made on his channel about him and his wife. Now his wife is about 5'2", 100 pounds. It's very like ironic because compared to him, she's this very, very small figure. Even for like a woman, she's on the smaller size, and he's this massive, gigantic guy. So in these shorts, he's like, oh, here's my coffee mug, it's this ginormous mug. And he's like, here's her coffee mug, it's a small mug. And here's his shoe, which is like a size 24. And here's hers, which is like a size 6. And of course, everyone in the comments like making very, very like sexual jokes, implying certain thing because he's so big and she's so small. But later, like, I was thinking, imagine if I just shot up to his size. I was suddenly 400 pounds and I was 6'9". If my PP was the exact same size, it would look very, very small on me, right? Even though it's, you know, above average. Because of how massive I am, it seems very, very small. The same way, if I was suddenly shrink down, if I was suddenly like 5'1" and I was 120 pounds, but I had the same size PP, it would look massive because of how small the rest of me was. Your PP looks big or small on you proportionate to how big the rest of your body is. It's like a percentage. But what this means is, like, firstly, it's very unlikely any girl will just come up to you and just measure your PP in the bedroom with a ruler. Maybe it's some guy's deepest fear, but it's very, very unlikely. But this means you shouldn't be overweight, because all that extra fat on you gives the illusion that you're bigger and therefore your PP is smaller. Also, most fat you gain will be in your stomach area, which hangs over your PP. And if you gain fat in a negative way by eating unhealthy food, which most people will do because it's very hard to gain fat when you're eating a healthy diet, it'll be visceral fat, which will push out the skin around your PP. Now, chances are if you watch my content, you're not obese. But a big mistake I see so many guys making is going on these crazy dirty bulks, thinking that it'll lead to them having more muscle mass. And during that time, because they have so much fat on them, it looks like they have a small PP. Not that like I've seen a guy's PP or anything, but... And I'm guilty of this as well. I thought if I put on extra fat, I'll gain extra muscle. And I spent all of 2022, just 12 months, only bulking. I went from 172 pounds on January 1st to 205 pounds on December 31st. And during the second half of that year, my PP looked smaller because I had so much fat on me, and I also had so much fat on my face. It looked very unpleasant, etc. And when I then went to cut that fat, I didn't gain any insane amount of muscle mass like you see these transformation videos on YouTube. I only gained a normal amount of muscle, but I wasted half of that previous year being obese for really no reason at all. The sad reality is the reason why people go on these crazy bulks is to hide their PED usage, and doing them won't correlate to more muscle mass. But if you want to give the illusion that you have a bigger PP, then avoid these crazy bulks that just leave you obese for half the year, and instead just bulk in the healthy range of half a pound to 1 pound per week. And then additionally, if you are overweight right now because you're doing a crazy insane bulk, just cut the fat through intermittent fasting. And also by cutting sugar, you will substantially lose fat quicker because sugar actually makes you hungry. Also, a quick pro tip, if you are going to do intermittent fasting to lose weight, make sure your protein amount is adequate. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, but also realize your body can't absorb more than 60 grams of protein per meal. So spread out your meals accordingly. We're now jumping to section 3 of Domino number 2, give the illusion your PP is bigger, and that is Groom the Garden, aka just trim your pubes. This is pretty obvious, so I'll keep it short, but if you trim the pubes around your PP will look much bigger. My favorite manscaping tool by far is the Philips Norelco Body Groomer. Not sponsored in any way. A reason why is because it has a dual side. So on one side is a trimmer you can make adjustments with, and the other side is an electric shaver to give you an even more precise cut to take even more off. I know a lot of guys use Manscaped's lawnmower, but that thing is absolute garbage. It's inefficient, it's loud, it has few features, no adjustments. The company's really scammy. I've tried out a fair amount of manscaping tools, and Philips Norelco's body groomer just comes out as number 1, specifically because it has that dual-sided body shaver. Regardless, whatever you want to do, just keep it tight down there and try to make it a habit to manscape on a regular basis. Don't only do it when you have a date coming up. For me, I do it every single week on Tuesdays after I go to the gym. And that wraps up domino number 2, give the illusion your PP is bigger. To quickly summarize, use different bedroom tactics and techniques we covered to give the illusion that your PP is deeper inside of your girl. Make sure you're a reasonable body fat percentage. Avoid these crazy dirty bulks in the gym. They're not going to give you any extra muscle gains. And lastly, be sure to groom the garden to make sure that your PP looks bigger with less hedging around it. If you do this in combination with everything we covered in domino number 1, maximizing blood flow, you will have a new toy down there. I know there's a lot of other fluff out there to like get a bigger PP. There's a lot of techniques like jelking where you like grab the base of your PP with your fingers and then stretch it out for like an hour every single day. There's not a single study to show that actually works or doesn't work. There was a study to show that if you wear a traction device on your PP for 9 hours per day, after 3 months, your PP will grow 1 inch longer. There are, however, surgeries you can do, like injecting plasma into your PP to make it swell up. You can also cut the tendon that holds your PP at like 90 degrees, so it droops down, but it is longer. However, you have to also like wear weights on your PP so the tendons don't regrow. But these things just not only make my teeth clench, and I would never recommend to anybody ever, they're completely unnecessary. Do everything we covered to maximize your PP naturally through maximizing blood flow, and then also through giving the illusion that it's bigger. And then also realize that our biggest sexual organs, again, are our brains. If you're that guy who's maxed out his PP and you walk around with a level of swagger because you're an attractive guy, then no girl will care whether your PP is going to be like an inch or 2 shorter than the average. Like imagine if that guy from 50 Shades of Grey, like the number 1 most popular women's erotica film, just had a small PP. Do you think any girl would actually care? Probably not. So do what you can to max it out, and then realize if you do have like a micro PP that's under 2.9 inches or something, just wear a strap on and own it. Like imagine if that guy from 50 Shades of Grey, the number 1 women's erotica film and book, just had a small PP. Do you think any girl would actually care? No. So just do everything you can to naturally max out your PP, and if you still are not able to get in that normal range, you have less than a 2.9 incher, just buy a strap on, own what you have, and just move on with your life. But I highly doubt that you watching this are in that situation. But also realize when you do what we covered to get a bigger PP, you don't just get a bigger PP, you get so much more than that. You become happier, healthier, more energetic, more productive, more focused. You date better, you're more attractive, you have more girls that like you and more girls that want to get with you. Like this could be your backstory. Imagine in 5 years you think back to, yeah, I remember I saw a video from this kind of cringy, weird Pakistani guy on how to get a bigger PP. But I watched that video and he inspired me to start boxing and taking care of my diet and sleeping better and cutting social media usage. And all that stuff led to me now having an amazing girlfriend and now knowing how to box and being in fantastic physical shape and improving my diet. And because I got that sit, stand, desk and I'm going for walks every day, I was more productive at work, so I got this promotion and now I'm making over 6-7 figures a year, whatever. All of this could be your future, but it won't happen if you don't take action from what you learned today. If you just leave today without implementing what you've learned, you would have just wasted a couple hours of your time you could have spent elsewhere. But also you will get a smaller PP, because the way our society's headed with our hyper-stimulated world and a constant sitting down, people are getting smaller and smaller PPs and more erectile dysfunction problems. I don't want you to end up like that. I already have a good PP. I'm not too worse. This isn't about me. I want the best for you. So I really hope you do take action on these steps. And I know habits are very hard to change. Try to find the easiest 1 or 2 things on this entire list you can start implementing today and make them stick for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then add some more and some more and some more, because they don't want this to go to waste for you. And lastly, when you do have your crazy success, I don't want to get any transformation PP pictures, no before afters or anything like that. No emails. I don't want to be tagged in anything. Keep that just for you, bro. Anyway, do the thing. Have the power. I'll see you tomorrow, bro.